All right, welcome to the Sae Bae cast number 234 with Travag. Travag, how are we doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Pretty good. You were in my stream and we were just kind of like chit-chatting about like YouTube and other things, and I didn't realize who I was talking to because I had seen some of your videos on YouTube and I've seen your face. You kind of have like the it's definitely not Jimmy's format, but I just say Jimmy's format because I feel like Jimmy's the one
Yeah.
with like the green screen and everything. But surely many people were doing it before him. But but I do remember a video in particular of you, and you were just very concise, articulate, speaking your points. They were basically how I would love to do my rambles. I just don't. I just ramble. I just hit record and kill. But yours is a little bit more scripted, kind of like the early No Monkey rambles. I think even No Monkey has kind of gone off script a lot, and he'll just kind of like wing it. But I feel like yours are much more thought out, and I like really appreciate that. So when we were chatting in the Twitch chat, I then looked up your channel and I was like, oh, okay, like I'm putting a name to like the face and everything like that because there's so many YouTubers these days. So I was really, really happy to reach out. We got this set up super quickly, and yeah, I'm looking forward to this. There's a lot to touch on today.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely see that. I as much as you say that my format, it's something you would love to do. I also feel like your format's something I would love to do one time or a few times because I'm so focused on making sure that all my points are concise and I don't like ramble ever. Like if there's ever a point that I don't want to include, I want to edit it out. Basically every time I take a take, I want it to be like extended. I don't want to have like every 5 seconds edited, right?
Mm.
So you would not believe how many takes it takes me to get like the good 30-second segment where I have like no editing. It's ridiculous.
No, no,
I
no,
will
no.
sometimes do like 50 takes and people are like, wow, he's so concise. I'm so bad when I'm recording. It's so hard for me.
No, no,
But
no. You're
yeah.
not alone in that, by the way. Like when I will do just the most brief little scripted thing for like an intro of a Sae Bae cast. Let me just throw out an example. I think just like 3 episodes back, I tried to make a script talking about like trying to get my viewers over to like the exclusive episodes and just saying how you can do it. And I wanted to make it clear, and I didn't want it to sound bad. Like I wanted it to sound like kind of professional. Holy fuck, yeah. But I think that took me genuinely like 25 takes to like just get it all out and make it sound smooth. And I didn't want to have any cuts in it. But
Yeah.
it's interesting because as soon as you go down that route, it's like the perfectionism gets stronger. It's like, okay, I know I can be it. I know I can make this better. It's like this constant like, okay, let's retake it one more time. Even if it was good enough, it's like let's just try it
Oh
one more
yeah,
time.
like little things, like
Yeah.
tiny things, and you're like,
Yes.
okay, let's redo it. Or yeah, it's definitely the perfectionism gets you. When I was making videos in the past, like I didn't think about that, and we're talking past, we're talking a long time ago. I really didn't think about that, and like I'd be okay with filming myself for like 20 minutes and then just cutting around it, right? Where it's like
Mhm.
now it's like I'm filming, 30 seconds a minute at a time, and it needs to be like essentially the perfect take with no cuts because I think it helps with the fluidity of the video when that happens. But you know what? I'm probably over indexing in it, to be honest. I'm sure most people wouldn't care or even wouldn't notice if I like cut a thought in half if
Yeah.
it was edited well enough. But yeah.
Yeah, most people don't care. Here's the issue, though, with just going full off the cuff ramble. I mean, I've now gotten so comfortable with it. One of the reasons I enjoyed, or honestly, one of the reasons I started YouTube in the first place was just to have a place where I can just ramble and share my thoughts and stuff, and not have anything too structured. I never really jumped into YouTube for like growth purposes per se. I was kind of just focusing on my Twitch stream, and then YouTube was just somewhere where I would just like throw anything on there. And I'm just glad in a way that I've kind of maintained that structure of just letting it rip on the mic, like just record. And people appreciate it. But the biggest downside is I will misspeak all the time. Like I'm just not articulate enough or well spoken enough to really get my thoughts across clearly. And so when I ramble, it's like, oh my God, it gets so misconstrued and it's completely my fault. It's like I will just say something that I didn't mean to say. And like then I'll start getting just owned in the comments section. Like, why did you say like what do you mean by this? And I'm like, oh crap, like I didn't actually like mean, or I didn't mean to go like that hard on that, or like I didn't mean to touch on that point so like aggressively. And it ends up causing some problems, but ultimately I think people just understand like I'm just kind of winging it a lot of
Yeah.
the time.
I think it's part of your like it's kind of part of your culture, right? Like
Yeah.
your rambles and sometimes the comments they will like point you out on things, but sometimes they'll even like joke. I've seen your comments, like they'll joke about you, like, oh, Sae Bae reading comprehension level 2, you know?
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
at least it's part of your culture. Like with me, it's like right now that's definitely not my culture. So
Mm,
everything is taken like, you know, I do a lot of video essays on RuneScape, for example. So I feel like my points have to be clear if
yeah.
I'm going to make like a commentary or an essay, at least in this format. But maybe down the line, I think I'm going to open it up to a looser format on the side. But we'll see.
Yeah, cool. So let's get a little brief, I guess, history of who you are, maybe as a player, and then just kind of how you got into the content creation scene. Because you were just saying, years and years and
Yep.
years ago, you were actually making content. It wasn't RuneScape exactly,
Yeah.
but let's hear the whole breakdown.
Yeah, let's break it down. So I have played RuneScape like many others since I was a kid. I honestly am not as great at remembering exactly when I started. I think it was 2004, but I played since then. Didn't really play much in the middle though. Jumped into old school. I don't know, maybe like 2017. I had a main account and it was fun. And I got to Zulrah. And once I got to Zulrah, I was like, okay, so I'm just gonna stay at Zulrah until I can like afford everything and then I stopped playing that account. And that account's like 1750. So I reached that goal and then kind of slowed down. Now I play an Ironman account. I created that like shortly after, and I've been on that account since then. And it's a pretty juicy account at this point. Um, I do Ironman for the same reason as pretty much everyone else. I just enjoyed the variety and whatnot. I'm not maxed, which is insane because I have over 600 million XP. Like I could have maxed like several times over, but I'm so focused on PVM. Sometimes I'm doing collection log that like even like I've been doing collection log recently with Trouble Brewing and Castle Wards, and it's like I could just be doing like agility or fletching instead of that. But I'm just slow maxing. I'm taking my time. Hopefully, I'll get it before sailing comes out. So that's my account. And in terms of like content creation, I got into I tried it maybe a couple years ago. I made some videos, like 3-4 years ago. I made some videos in RuneScape, and some of them actually have a lot of views today, which is great to see. But I really got into this more about 8 months ago, making more consistent videos with like a new kind of angle, a new new goals, and that's what we're doing. We're currently doing RuneScape videos. This is not my first time content creating. I used to content create like 13 years ago. I used to do like League of Legends videos. If you played League of Legends, you might have seen my videos. I was most known for a drawing series where my friend would. Are you familiar with League of Legends?
I'm
Say
not
much?
now.
Okay, so this series honestly could appeal to people not into it either. But essentially, what I do is there's a lot of champions in the game, and my friend's an amazing artist, super talented. I would describe the champions to him, and he'd draw just based off verbal description, or even sometimes I give him a lore description. Like I'd read the lore page. And then at the end we'd compare. Like what did he draw? What does the actual champion look like?
Oh,
And
that's
that's
cool.
what yeah, it's really cool. So you would see from his perspective where I see from my perspective of knowing everything. So that's what I was most known for, but I do have a couple other videos in the league scene, and I did end up using the same channel to do RuneScape videos, which is definitely can be tough, but there's been some changes to the YouTube algorithm that have made it a little bit more possible to pivot than you could before. So yeah, right now we're making those videos, and hopefully a couple of viewers remember the League of Legends videos way back in the day. We'll see.
I mean, some of them definitely popped off. I was checking out your channel, and you look at the excuse me, the popular, and I mean, you got a couple above 1 million views, which is
Yeah.
quite
A lot
crazy.
in like the half millions, which is great.
Yep.
It's very nice that I got a few RuneScape videos starting to creep up there. So it's not complete, because sometimes you want to see, oh, what is this, content creator most known for? Let me go to their popular tab, and then you see like they have like a popular RuneScape series or something, right?
Yeah.
They can't really do that with me much. You have to rely on my recent content, but it is I just like personally attached to this account. It probably would have been better to make a new account though.
One of the things though that I mean that's cool is just I think people these days, I mean, I would say definitely most popular is still like the narrative and the series and everything that's going on. Like Swampletics, obviously, like anything Settle does is amazing. But there does seem to be this type of influx of viewers that really just want to listen to RuneScape and listen to people's takes on it because I think, and this happens with most games. I mean, you start min-maxing the game, efficiency becomes much more pronounced, and people start really caring about, the updates that are going to land and things. And I think with old school, our demographic, I mean, we're all hitting our 30s now, and so it's just like, all right, people just are working. They want to they want to pull up something and just listen to RuneScape. They don't have all the time in the world to just actually watch like a full-on series. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
I agree, and that was a goal for me too. Like, I didn't want to make a RuneScape series. They're amazing. I think they're great, but they all suffer from a similar problem. When you get deeper into the episodes, especially, the time between uploads is like so long because there's so much time investment into getting that episode ready from like playing the game. And I was like, if I'm going to do a channel, I need it to be something where I can create content like more consistently. So that's why we're focused on either guides, commentary, new update information, stuff like that.
let's switch gears and just get right into some of the hot topics that are going on in the community. And we'll start off, honestly, with the Tumeken Shadow. And this is something I think I touched on with Mod Knox just a couple days ago. This was something we touched on. And obviously, it's a really hot topic because it does feel like it's just the weapon is so powerful, and yet it just feels like, people wanted to maintain its power, yet they also kind of want it to be nerfed, so it opens up room for other, gear and weapons in the future. And it just feels like we're kind of stuck at this fork in the road where we're not really sure what to do, whether to just keep it or like make a huge change to it. So let's hear your thoughts currently on what the Shadow is, and, if you have any problems with it at the moment.
Yeah, so the Shadow, I do think there are some issues with it. And I do think there are paths we can take. I know you're talking about, like, Mod Knox mentioned it recently. He said it was like flavor of the month to kind of talk about Shadow and whatnot. But like, it's not quite flavor of the month. The reason why we're talking about the Shadow is because how many different reward blogs do we need to see for like the Delve boss before we landed on something that we can release? And even then, people don't even like it that much. We had like an occult necklace thing. We had the bracelets like 2 or 3 times. I think there was like the mage cape as well, which and all of them had some sort of stipulation to work around the Shadow, right? It took multiple months to get a blog ready. So we're talking about it because of that, I think, more than anything. And that's why I wanted to like really focus on what we can do for this weapon. And I'm really happy that they've decided that, before they release another more mage gear, they're going to actually address the Shadow. Now, that could be in 6 months, that could be in a year. I don't know when they're going to release new mage gear, but I'm happy that they're going to be addressing it. I have been thinking about potential solutions, and I did release a video on a potential solution, which was pretty well received generally. And I know like Tasty really liked it. That's why he shared it on Behemoth. And I'll kind of explain what it is. I don't know if you've seen it, Sae Bae, but I'll get your thoughts on it too. I'm very curious.
Let's hear it.
Basically, what I want to do right now, we have it so that the magic gear you're wearing is tripled, right? The accuracy and the damage. So it's an external source that's granting you power. What I wanted to do is change it from an external source to an internal source. So what I propose is the Shadow, it would have base stats. Like, let's say it would have like 45 accuracy and like 6% magic damage or 5% magic damage. It doesn't really matter what the numbers are. And what would happen is whenever you put on a magic damage item, right? Like if you put an occult on, what would happen is the staff would multiply itself. So instead of the gear being multiplied, the staff is getting multiplied. So what you get is the more magic switches you put on, the more powerful the staff multiplies. So imagine 45 times 3, 45 times 4, or for damage, 6 times 3, 6 times 4. You're getting a stronger and stronger effect. And there's a reason why I thought about this too. There were a couple criteria that were super important to me. One is that I wanted it to promote switches still, right? Because kind of the core design of the Shadow, originally at least, was to allow stuff like Eternal Boots and Seer's Ring to be a choice that you would think about, like a viable choice. Because previously we wouldn't wear those at all. With this change, if I put on an item, I'm still, there's still a huge incentive to promote those switches, right? Because the more magic items you have on, the more you're boosting the Shadow. And there was a couple other criteria too. I wanted it to be like similar power to what it currently is. So if the math in my video, the way it works out, and there's multiple like different ways you could take it, but it boils down to with max gear, there's no change to the current shadow. It has like nearly identical accuracy and identical damage, which is like, I think people really like, because I'm not nerfing the shadow currently, right? And there were some changes to like lower gear. Like lower gear generally would end up being less accurate, but a little bit like more max hits. So it's a bit of a trade-off, which I think is fine. So people were really happy with that. And the last thing that this really allows for is future rewards. You can actually design mage gear without thinking about the shadow. So if you've been tracking, this implementation has its limits. When you have max switches, right? When you have like an 8-way switch, right? You can't gain any more damage. So when a new mage gear comes out, like let's say a new occult, right? You're only gaining the damage from the occult, like the new amount that it might have, like the 2 or 3, 4 or 5% more. And the shadow's not tripling that anymore because you've already maxed that slot out, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah. So let me just quick interrupt and just make sure I'm hearing this right. So you're getting a multiplier just by the equipment slot being filled by a mage, like equipment, basically, like per piece of mage equipment you're wearing, you're getting some sort of multiplier. And then obviously the better mage equipment's going to be better because you're getting that boost separately.
Yeah, you're still getting the base stats of the mage items.
Okay.
And and it needs to be, I think I limited to magic damage items. That way, like, stuff like jester boots and stuff like that don't qualify. It would be yeah, it would only be like anything that has a mage percentage, which is usually like dedicated mage gear, right? So that would be that. And then some people, this might feel like a nerf down the line for releasing future mage gear because you can't get any stronger. But the idea here is we wouldn't release something like the bracelets, which are like a 2% increase, and then have this weird passive. We would instead release bracelets that have like a 5% increase, right? And wouldn't have a passive, right?
Yep.
So you can argue that the shadow would be just as strong into the future because we'd be building out more mage, like aggressive mage gear. And also other mage gear will get stronger too. And mage is probably the weakest style when you exclude the shadow. So it would benefit other mage gear. Or mage weapons, I would say. Sorry.
I like it. I mean, there's so many different routes to go down. I think the more off the path you get with it, like I've mentioned a few ideas, and it ends up just being the shadow is just completely not the same item anymore, just because the
identity, right?
Yeah, the identity with your system still keeps that identity, which is great.
And the other thing too, I needed it to be simple, like where you can read the passive, where it's just like the shadow stats are multiplied for every whatever. I had like an elegant way in the video of explaining it, but it's a simple thing. A lot of solutions are like these algorithmic, like when you reach this cap, it'll change to 2%. When you reach this cap, it'll change to 0.75. And it's like, or just like extremely complicated. One of my criteria was like, it needs to be super simple, right? So that was very important as well. And this is just like a little tidbit. You have to balance around like TOA as well, because TOA has the 4 times multiplier, which obviously is like annoying that it exists. But my solution actually fits pretty well. Basically, instead of being 4 times multiplier, it would just be Tumeken Shadow's base stats are increased by 50%. So instead of having like 45 accuracy, it's like 60. Instead of having like 6%, whatever, it ends up being 9%. And when you plug the numbers in, you get the exact same thing. Like accuracy is like untouched. Damage is at a high level, it's pretty much the same. It's the same effect. So it has a simple solution for TOA as well, which I really like.
I mean, I think I touched on it with Modnox as well. Like, I'm definitely not a huge fan of places having just some random invisible boost to certain items, because it feels great when you're there, but it's so odd. And it also makes it so the second best in slot thing you can use is just pure poop, Yeah. And it's just horrible. It's like the gear progression is so skewed. It's so like asymmetrical. It's like you're using a rapier and then all of a sudden you get a fang and it's just like literally twice as good. Like, what is that?
Yeah, it feels bad. And now we're seeing it with gear, not just places, right? So now we have this bracelet coming in that's going to have a special effect, right? And it's like, places are already annoying. Wilderness is pretty annoying, right? But when you're going to start adding it to gear, you're adding another layer on top that's annoying. And I don't think anybody likes it. Yeah.
And that's why, and it's so hard because, and I've said this so many times in recent months, is like we're playing Patchscape. You can't just make a super, super clean solution, because ultimately, if you make too many changes, the game's not going to feel familiar, and that's going to be awful because, you know, the people that haven't logged in a year but log in and they're like, what the hell did you do to my game? You know, you changed so many things that just are unrecognizable. That's a problem. And so we need to take these like small little, you know, tippy toe steps basically to get things to be a little bit more balanced. And so I like your idea. You know, if I was in full control of the game, I would just honestly make something that has no multiplier to the shadow. I'll just make the shadow just a super powerful weapon from the get-go. The gear is always going to help in some form because, you know, like the better gear you have, the better it's going to be. But make it so it had some niche based on the monster. I liked the T-Bow route. I liked it when it was the mage level, and I liked Scythe because it was a big monster. And this probably is not the most elegant solution or even the best way to go down, but just one of the things I thought was like, what if the shadow was based on the total monster's HP? So the higher the HP is of a monster, the higher damage this is going to be. And it's not like completely linear. It would obviously start like, you know, rounding out toward like the higher level. Like as soon as it hits like 1,000 HP, like the difference between 1,000 HP monster and a 5,000 HP monster would be pretty minimal, but something like that where it's like, okay, this shadow is going to suck against a goblin. It's going to just be horrible. And that's what I like about the T-Bow. You start T-Bowing goblins, you're just totally trolling. Like, what are you doing? But with something larger, with something, you know, with more HP, I like that system. It's probably not the best. It's probably has so many flaws with it. And I think your system, honestly, probably is better because it still aligns with the identity of the shadow that we currently have. So
Yeah, because we kind of set a precedent, I suppose, and I actually think like if they release the shadow, for example, with your idea for, like from the get-go, it works, right? It's just changing it is more difficult. Like to completely change its identity is more difficult now than to what it would have released as. Like even your idea right there, like is probably a future item they can consider, whether it's mage or another style. Yeah.
And the cool thing, you know, about the idea of it scaling based off the monster's HP is it would just straight up help against higher scaled raids, for example. Like Toa, if you're just doing a solo 150, the shadow's going to be total poop. But as soon as you crank that up and monsters start having crazy HP, the shadow is just going to be a monster. And so that's a really cool kind of dynamic, I think. And it would be the same with any sort of monster that kind of scales up the more players you have or whatnot. So I think that would have been a more interesting idea from the get-go, like you said, but we don't.
That just I think so. Happen. Yeah, it's not a bad idea. I think it definitely probably makes the J mods like when they're developing bosses, it probably makes it a little bit more difficult because it's one more thing they need to think about. Like typically bosses with high HP tend to have like low defense, right? That way items like blow pipe are pretty powerful, right?
That's a good point.
So now it's like when things have high HP all of a sudden, because you're trying to make the shadow potentially good there, you have to like, okay, we're going to give it higher defense. Or maybe if you wanted blowpipe to be good there, you can't really justify it anymore because you're going to give it low defense. What are you going to do? Give it low health as well? So it gives it like, it definitely adds a layer of complexity when it comes to designing bosses. But, you know, there's potentially some way you can try to balance it. But yeah, I think at this point, like, I don't expect Shadow to change super drastically, but I do like the idea of using those like, I like that the T-Bow has like that strong downside. I love the Scythe too. Like, you know, obviously you want to use the Scythe on 3x3. And not only that, like the Scythe can't stab, right? Like, so you can't use a stab weapon. And honestly, if Crush didn't exist on the Scythe, then it wouldn't be able to use that either, right? So those are also like levers. Mage doesn't really have that right now. We have Elemental Weakness, which if they built that out more, then that would limit the Shadow a little bit more. And I don't know. I think there should be something else. Like, I don't know if it's like Demonic Weakness, which we technically have, but it's horrible right now, or some other sort of mage style where at least it would give you that kind of base, you know, the way you can balance the power based on those like 3 different attack styles, right?
Yeah. Because I mean, range now has it. We have the, what is it, light, standard, and heavy, I think, or is it standard?
Yeah,
is the middle one? Is that?
I think it's like, it's like bows and arrows or something like that. And then thrown items or something, and then heavy. I don't know exactly what it is, but we haven't really used that. Like they just made every boss have basically what it has now, but it is good that exists now because
and they can expand
you can make the blowpipe stronger by, you know, making thrown defense lower, right? And stuff like that.
And it sounds like for the summer sweep up, they'll be really going to town on adding elemental weaknesses to things that really should be having elemental weaknesses. I mean, they just started when they first introduced elemental weaknesses. They just had a pretty tame list of like what is going to have elemental weaknesses, and I think they're going to do a lot better job. I think they're going to rebalance some of them as well, and then they're just going to add a whole ton of other ones, and that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. Like, I do like elemental weakness, but yeah, there really isn't too much you can use. It's a good mid-game function, definitely. Like, a lot of mid-game can benefit. Like, Zulra's insane mid-game now because of the fire weakness with Twin Flame Staff. But other ones are just kind of, they're thrown on there, but they don't actually do anything. My least favorite is Huey Codal, right? Huey Codal has a 60% Earth weakness, which does nothing.
Yeah.
You will never use an Earth spell there. And I thought maybe because it has the dragon staff, right? The dragon wand.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, oh, if you use that in combination with, the earth weakness, it's going to be like a viable option there. It's so bad. And it's like, why does it even have that 60% weakness and the Tome of Earth and this wand if we're not even going to leverage it at all?
Yeah, it's
right.
kind of pathetic. What do you actually think about the Dragon Hunter wand? Do you think they can? It sounds like they're going to be touching on it. I keep seeing screenshots of Reddit threads where the JMods are like, yeah, we're going to definitely touch on the Dragon Hunter wand. We're going to address it, or maybe add an attachment or something like that. What would you want to see from that? Because I actually have one on my baby iron, and I love it because my DPS and my gear is all shit. So this is actually a pretty substantial upgrade, honestly.
Yeah,
but not for most people.
I mean, right now the wand is pretty much its only strong use case is against I think steel dragons and stuff like that, because basically anytime you're combining an elemental weakness with it being draconic, you're getting a benefit other than something like Huey Codal. So it feels like they released it knowing that they wanted an attachment in the future. I think it's definitely far too weak. I would prefer that it was just stronger, like they buff it, but maybe the summer sweep up is going to bring up some of the defenses. It's also kind of a tricky one to balance for because, again, you have to factor in draconic and elemental weakness. I don't think it should be particularly good at Ohm, for instance, as a draconic weapon, but it isn't really that good because Ohm doesn't have an elemental weakness. So I think that's a good thing. If you want to make this thing strong, I think it needs to leverage potentially both at once, the standard spellbook with elements and the fact that it's being a dragon. So maybe that's the way that they balance it in the future, and that can that justifies them potentially buffing it. I don't like that they released a pretty, I guess it's not a dead item per se, but I guess we've been spoiled in the past where when we do get an item that has a weakness for a creature like Arclight, other Dragon Hunter Lance, that you just expect it to be really good. And this is a case where it's just not good against dragons, really, because of the elemental spells are pretty weak generally.
Yeah, and like you said, it's kind of more of a mid-game sort of item. And the problem is, if you want to really maximize the DPS, you got to have Wrath Runes rolling with a really high mage level in order to really see its true power. And what account, I mean, if you're looking at Ironman, what account has 95 rune crafting at that stage, and then has a bunch of Wrath Runes, or even just has a high magic level in the first place without already having something better like a Trident or Sang or whatever else. So it is in a weird spot. I would imagine, I don't know, I guess there will be probably some attachment. The problem is it's so hard to balance it because you don't want to make it too powerful, because then you might be, stepping on the shoes of other weapons. But you also got to keep in mind, this is what I keep in mind, is you're forced to be on the standard spellbook when you're using this wand. So there's already a huge downside of not being able to be on Archaea, summoning thralls or whatever else. So I think,
and we got double Death Charge coming out soon too, right? Yeah. So it's it's going to become an even stronger spellbook, which means standard becomes weaker, right? So
yeah, that'll be interesting to see. It's a really cool weapon though. I like the idea of the wand, and I'm on on this account. I actually got the Tome of Earth, so I have the wand and Tome of Earth, but I can't really utilize it because the only place you would really utilize something like this is on metal dragons, and you kind of need an anti-dragon shield unless you have what is it? I don't even know.
Again, high Herblore,
92 Herblore or something. So I mean, I'm pressing my way up there. I've been taking my account in a different direction where I've definitely done a lot of foundational skilling. But yeah, I mean, it's such a odd mid-game weapon, like I was saying, because it's
Yeah,
just,
I
like,
mean,
feel
you
like
brought
need-
up two examples, like really good points, where it's like mid-game weapon with high, like late game requirements,
Yeah.
right? Surge, Wrath Runes, anti-dragon, super anti-dragons or whatever. Like it's in a weird place. It's at odds, right?
Yeah.
So I definitely think it's something they could look into. I do really love, by the way. Have you done any Royal Titans on your account?
I have. I did it one night and I got Deadeye and then I just left. But I need that
Okay.
Twin Flame staff. I had no idea how powerful it was. That thing's a
Yeah.
that
Well, I
thing's
mean,
a
we could
beast.
talk about the Twin Flame staff, but what I
Let's do
want to
it.
talk about
Yeah,
first is the desiccated pages.
Okay.
Those are so good. It's insane. So I am done effectively with Royal Titans. Like I've green logged them other than pets. So whenever I go there now, I just choose the take pages option. You can easily stack up in like a few hours, like 1,000 pages, which is so
Oh
crazy.
my
Like
God, 1,000? I didn't realize it was that much in just a few hours.
yeah, like I mean, I have a pretty late game account, and maybe I'm like over exaggerating, but let's even say it's 500. Like
Okay.
that's so many like
Yeah.
Earth pages, for example.
Yeah, that's huge.
Like I love that they added this because Huey Codal, it's so hard to stack up 500 Earth pages. Here you can just constantly kill the boss and get. I think I was getting an average of 17 per kill, and my kills were like 2 minutes. So it was just I love
that's
it,
huge.
and it's amazing. I also have been stacking them in the bank. I have like over 1,000 because you can choose what you want to make them into, right?
Mhm.
Water, earth, fire. But they also give you 50 like 50 50 rune crafting XP each, and you can process them all at once. So I have like 50,000 like rune crafting XP banked
Oh,
just
that
from
is
these pages.
nice.
So
Okay.
eventually I want to cash in like 500,000. It'd be so fun.
Oh, that would be good. No, it really is. I mean, it's a really that was a banger of an update to release that, because I didn't even quite get why we had these pages. And then all of a sudden I got a Tome of Earth and I'm like, oh, if I really want to make this wand good, I have to use the Tome of Earth, and the Tome of Earth requires these soiled pages. And then I was like, okay, there's no way I'm endlessly grinding Huey until the end of time to keep having this extra DPS. So the fact that Royal Titans allows that's beautiful.
Oh, it's
That was
amazing.
great.
The only downside is like you kind of want to get your twin flame staff first. You can't use the take pages option until you've kind of finished. So you're not going to get a ton of pages the first whatever 100 KC going for the staff. But now it's kind of like has that Zulrah effect where it's probably even better than Zulrah because, balance wise. But once in a while, when I'm running out of pages, I'll spend a day at Royal Titans and get a bunch of pages. Like I always like it when there's content like that where I can once in a while go back, get my upkeep for the next few months, and then I'm good to go. Like that to me is I love balance like that. I wish like Zulrah was like maybe 20% more generous with scales, but there's a few other examples in the game that are really good. There's a few that are really bad. But whenever you give yourself an incentive to go back to an area to get a resource, I'm a big fan of that. Temporos is a really good example of that too. I love going back to Temporos to get Spirit Flakes because I like catching double anglers, for example. So yeah, no, amazing. Highly recommend getting those pages once you get the staff, and the Twin Flame staff is fairly strong for mid game as well.
Yeah, it's a beast. I'm. I went to Zulrah just the other day. It's just starting it out. I have like 40 kills or something. And I was just using my Dragon Hunter wand because it does have like that normal 10% boost, which is obviously good. And then people are like, oh, you should get a Twin Flame staff. And I was like, I didn't even realize how powerful
It's
it was.
so good.
But
Yeah.
then I was thinking to myself, I was like, okay, it's a 6-tick weapon that shoots out 2 casts. So I would need to see the timing of Zulrah, because in a way, at first I was thinking, oh, this is probably actually going to be not as good as it's showing in theory, because if you miss attack, let's just say you attack Zulrah, you're waiting 5 ticks to attack it, and then it transitions right then. It's like, okay, you've just lost all that time on that DPS because Zulrah is constantly going under and going back up. But at the same time, if you do end up getting that last hit at the very last tick, that's a huge, up in your DPS technically, rather than like, let's just say you're using just a really fast weapon. Obviously, we don't have super fast weapons in Mage, but just it's like, so I'm curious running Zulrah in reality, how good this Twin Flame staff is. If you're missing ticks or you're actually getting that boost from getting those last hits off right at the end.
I've heard about a few antidotes so far. So when you use the dragon staff there, are you getting to the Jad phase?
Just barely.
Just barely. Okay.
Yeah.
From my antidotes, it's like people using the staff generally don't reach the Jad phase.
That's cool. Yep.
So it's massive for Zulrah. Also, this might not apply to your account, but it could, depends on what your hit is. Zulrah's got the 50 damage cap, which obviously you're not really hitting other than Shadow, right? But what's nice about this staff is I hit like 50 like sixes on it or something like that. But because it's split up into 2 hit splats, I'm actually getting a 56 out on the boss.
That's huge.
Yeah. So you're kind of circumventing the cap. So technically, way down the line, if we had ridiculous mage gear, this would be an insane weapon there because it's going to be the only weapon that could effectively hit over 50s. So that's amazing. I don't know if your account would be able to hit that necessarily. Maybe, because once you get to Fire Wave or whatever, you're starting to get pretty close on the cap, assuming you have Occult Necklace and Tormented as well. But
I don't have that. So I mean, it wouldn't affect me at the moment, but yeah, somebody in my chat was saying like how good it is that it does bypass that cap, which is super cool.
Love it.
Here's the one problem I think with Zulrah using a 6-tick weapon is you can't pillar stall properly. Now, it's ultimately not going to make a difference because the only time it ever actually like makes a difference is if you're trying to like I'm trying to think to myself because when I would grind this on my max, Ironman with max gear and stuff, if you're pillar stalling, you can only wait behind a pillar for 5 ticks. And if you wait any longer, Zulrah starts, kind of progressing through the fight. But the problem, or the good thing is that with an account like mine, you're only going to be rocking that one weapon. So ultimately, you can just step out every 5 ticks and it's fine because you'll still be able to like, just take one hit for one, like 1 by 1, kind of like a 1-to-1, like take a hit and wait. Anyway, so I haven't actually used the Twin Flame staff there. I'm kind of curious how that's all going to work out because I do a lot of pillar stalling like the whole time just to like milk those phases. So
got it, just to mitigate damage and everything. Okay, I see.
Yeah, we'll see how it works, but it's just not going to be as clean because as soon as you wait more than 5 ticks, it starts just progressing the fight, and that's not what you want. But you could just step out a tick earlier. I just think if on one of the phases, like let's just say like, after the initial and then it goes red phase and then it's all of a sudden green on the south side, it attacks 5 separate times. And I'm pretty sure if you tried to pillar stall 5 separate times, eventually you wouldn't be able to like, I don't know, mitigate one of the pillar stalls or something. Okay. I don't know. This is all in my head. People are like, what the hell are you talking about? But
I think it's a good point. I think it's a really good point. But I also think it's also kind of cool for balance, right? Like maybe the balance is like, oh, well, I'm going to take the 6 take. Maybe I'll take more damage, but I'm dealing more damage. Or maybe you go with your route where it's like, I can save resources, do less damage, and pillar stall. And I actually do like that there's that choice.
Yes.
Right? It's kind of emergent, like an emergent choice you can make as a result of the attack speed of the weapon. So I actually really like that, having that option.
It is definitely interesting. It is just more interesting that it's a different speed weapon. It's just cooler. So
yeah. Sae Bae, are you okay? This is pretty insane tech. I mentioned this in a video I did on the Twin Flame staff. But do you ever use Sunfire runes?
No, never. I've never even. I don't even think I've crafted one.
I know. Okay, so I'm gonna share some goodies here that you might do in your account. So Sunfire runes.
Okay.
You craft them, and what they do is they raise your minimum hit, by 10% for mage spells.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if you could hit a 50, your minimum hit's going to be 5 with a fire spell. So a couple things. First of all, when it comes to crafting them, I never crafted them because if you look at the wiki, it shows that it's 1 splinter to make 1 Sunfire rune. Mm-hmm. Right. Obviously, that's horrible. You're not going to grind out 10,000 Sunfire runes and then go and make 10,000. It's horrible. You want to save those for your quiver and stuff like that, right? Yeah. However, if you use Twisted Extract from the Scar Essence Mine, it does that whole multiplying shopscape thing that the Essence does, but it doesn't use increased splinters. So I made over 50,000 Sunfire runes in like 10 minutes or so, and I used like 400 splinters.
What the fuck? And that was probably dirt cheap too, because it's just normal runes, right?
Yeah, it's like in the same class as Cosmic, I think, or something like that.
Okay. I thought they were like elemental.
Oh god, that would be insane as well.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I was like,
it'd be so cheap as well. But I cannot. But you say it's actually profitable to do this as a main. Believe it or not, like using the splinters. you end up with like 1.5 million per hour or something like that. But as an Ironman, like I did not realize I can have an abundance of. So I will never run out of Sunfire runes. So I use Sunfire runes everywhere. And on top of that, if you have a Tome of Fire and you make like searing pages, which is like using Sunfire runes on the pages, it becomes even more efficient.
Wait,
so
wait. I'm losing it. Wait, what are searing pages? What are these
brother? Now? Okay, so basically, searing pages. You have what are they called? Burnt pages.
Yeah.
If you use Sunfire runes on them, I think 100 Sunfire runes, you make a searing page.
What? I didn't even know this, dude. I've definitely heard searing page. I think it just like went in one ear out the other. What the?
It's weird, but basically, by using 100 Sunfire runes on the pages, when you think about the spells you're casting, most of them cost more than 5 fire runes to cast. They cost like 7 or something like that, right? So you're saving like, I think you're saving like 30% like of your Sunfire runes effectively if you make searing pages. It's kind of annoying to have searing pages and burn pages, whatever. But basically, what I'm trying to tell you here is like you previously would have thought Sunfire runes totally can't use them. I got to use 1 splinter. It's going to be super expensive. I need splinters for other things. But now you know, 1, splinter's not an issue. You can make 50,000 at once, like no problem. And 2, you can use searing pages to make those 50,000 effectively turn into like 70,000.
Holy hell. Okay. So yeah, I'm actually really happy you're telling me all this because this is stuff. Oh, yeah. The game has become so like there's just so much going on. I'm playing this game every fucking day. I'm covering blog posts a lot of the time. I'm always streaming. I'm always looking at Reddit and stuff. And like I can't even imagine the average player that's working an 8-hour day coming back and they're like, what the hell is this? Like I'm confused.
And Sae Bae, I'm not done.
That's the thing. Okay.
I'm not done. There's more. Okay. So maybe the average player doesn't know about that. Maybe like the players like me who are like into the numbers and dig into the things know about this. But there's one thing that I discovered that probably even less players know about. There's the reason why I was looking into Sunfire runes. They give you that 10% minimum hit, right? Which is obviously raising your DPS.
Mm-hmm.
How does it work with the Twin Flame Staff? Right? If the Twin Flame Staff is rolling 2 hit splats, is it like doing 10% off the total, or is it doing 10% off like each hit? Like, how does it work?
Yep.
So I did a ton of testing, and basically, I have to exactly recall what I mentioned in the video, but basically what happens is you will never hit below like certain numbers on the Twin Flame Staff, and it ends up being better than the Sunfire rune passive does, the 10%. Like I'm trying to, when I was doing it, I have like a spreadsheet somewhere, but basically when I was able to hit like a certain amount, I don't know if it was like 40 or whatever, I couldn't hit below like a 5 or a 7 or something, because the combination of me hitting like 2 + 1, I don't know, I have to find my spreadsheet, but effectively it works positively for the staff so that you're actually it's benefiting from the Sunfire rune effect more than any other weapon is. So highly recommend that anyone using the Twin Flame Staff uses Sunfire runes with it.
Okay, you sold me. I am going to get on my Royal Titans grind out that Twin Flame Staff, and I'm going to start sending some of these Sunfire runes. What the hell, dude? I see.
Yeah.
This is already a great conversation. I'm learning stuff, so I'm in the perfect spot for it too on this account. So it's just great.
Perfect.
That's cool, so man. That's cool. So I'm trying to think now. I mean, what do you think have been the coolest upgrades lately, as of like the last 1.5 2 years? Because it really does sound like Royal Titans nailed it with these prayers and the Twin Flame Staff, but I'm trying to think if there's anything like better. I mean, obviously the Sunfire runes are pretty nice, but probably a little bit more niche.
Just updates in general?
Yeah,
the past
I guess
few
just
years?
like PVM upgrade updates. Sort of like what do you think have been like the most impactful? Not even quite impactful as in like this is helping maxed people, but just I don't know, the most interesting, the ones you see Jagex like, okay, Jagex, you guys are cooking here. Like, because I think the Twin Flame Staff is total cooking on their end. Like, that's just great.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think the Moons Apparel gear and Moons Apparel as a whole, like, is an amazing update. Probably, if anything, overtuned the dual Mako Wheels and the Blood Moon set.
Hmm.
But like that to me is an amazing update, and it's so good for mid game. It kind of makes like Bandos gear not as important. Obviously, you need Bandos gear down the line, but you can get like the Blood Moon chest, which is like pretty good. Like it's not as defensive from like a melee and range perspective, but it actually has more like mage defense, I
Yep.
believe. So it's like awesome gear. And what I love about that too, about those types of weapons, again, Twin Flame Staff is similar. Like I'm a max account, but I still find ways of using the dual Makaweedles and stuff, right? I use them in Nilo room for TOB, for
Hmm.
instance, over a ham joint, because you have something like a 98% chance to one shot a Nilo with the dual Mox, which is just
That's
so cool.
crazy.
It's one tick slower, right? And ham joint might be better overall, but it's so good. I think even like the We Do Raids Discord, like recently, like a couple days ago, changed their requirements to allow for double hit flat weapons in the Nilo room, because it's good, right? So that update was really good. I think like generally speaking, like the mid game has probably been the biggest focus the past 2 years, and now we're starting to see them creep up the mid game a little bit. Like Rural Titans to me is like mid game, but sort of started pushing a little bit later, at least in terms of mechanics potentially. And now we got like 2 end game bosses coming out really soon. Um, so yeah, that's probably the big one. Did you get any moons gear on your account that you're on currently?
It's funny you mentioned that. Like Moons is actually the one of the pieces of content I'm resisting doing because of how overtuned it is, in my opinion. It's
Oh wow, that's why you were farming Bandos the other day. I was
yeah, well,
wondering.
actually, that wasn't even quite the reason. I was actually about to skip Bandos because Yama's coming out, and I was like, I'll just skip everything and just go for Oathplate, and I won't
Oh
touch
god.
Bandos or Next. But there's still reason to go to Next. You want the Nile Horn, you want the Van Braces, obviously. But no, I did just happen to spoon a BCP at 13 KC, which is just wild. I was not expecting
Oh
that.
GZ.
Yeah, thank you. But no. I resisted Moons because one, one of the reasons I resist it is just because it's boring. I think it's so boring. It's so powerful. Like the upgrades are amazing. Just the basic loot is insane for an early Ironman. It's just crazy. Like this is like an all-in-one place to just pimp your account out. But
Yeah.
one of the issues is that as soon as you get that, any other upgrades just aren't going to feel as good. And it's kind of like, okay, now you got all 3 styles that you need going forward. Literally, you can use Moon's gear at raids. Like you're ready. Like you're locked and loaded. And all you had to do was 50 hours or whatever of Moons, and that just wasn't up my alley. And the other thing was like, I don't know. I just wanted to pave a different path. So like,
Yeah.
Moons was just. It pushes your account way too far ahead, way too quickly, and it's not even that fun. Like I get bored out of my mind. Like I actually did send a couple on this account just from the get go, and I was like, okay. And I just remembered. It was like a friendly reminder. Like I'm so bored. Loot the chest. You're like I can't do another one of these. Holy crap.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, I think the boss fights are kind of novel, but they're not like, yeah, long term you don't really enjoy it.
Hmm.
In terms of like the overtune gear, I'm glad we both agree with that. No one really talks about it. I think they could have made like Blood Moon, for example, like +3 melee strength instead of 4,
Yeah.
and it still would have been like really good, right? Or even +2. Even just the set effect and stuff is really good. Um, but yeah, I one thing I really do like about Moons though, and compared to like let's say the Gauntlet, it actually feels worth it to prep, right? Like you don't want to bring your own supplies because one, the supplies they're giving you are very strong, right? Like you're
Yeah.
getting like an overload, super combat, etc. With prayer restore and everything. And then two, like it doesn't take a long time to get like a lot of them. When you compare that to like the Gauntlet, where you have to like farm all the fish, make the pots, and it's super tedious by comparison. So I'm super happy that they actually managed to like nail the balance of like making these useful, not using your own supplies, but also making it so that not even end game players have a benefit to make the supplies in the dungeon as opposed to bringing their own supplies, because typically bringing your own supplies would be more efficient, but in this case it's kind of not, which
Yeah.
I really really like.
No, they did so many things right with that piece of content. So many things right, but then there's just the things that they did wrong are so stark because of all the things they did right. And like
Yeah.
just those phases. I mean, can we please?
Is it the Eclipse boss? Is that the one that really kills you is the Eclipse
Honestly,
one?
the Eclipse boss is actually probably my favorite, which is
Oh,
bizarre
okay.
to say because it has probably the worst one where you're just walking around a fucking bowling ball for a whole rotation, just walking it. It's just like, what is going on? I mean, I would say the others are worse. The ice one, like just kicking icicles and having to go to that brazier. And
Oh yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry, but
One's
that brazier, that last line at the brazier should not have any icicles moving across it. Like that,
right.
that
Yeah.
is such a headache. Like, let us get to that brazier and then just because you have a fucking delay on it. Like your guy's stalled there and you like almost always get hit. But the whole thing is pointless kicking the icicles because no matter what your DPS is, you know, it's just you're still going to be waiting another 2 phases and you're just waiting for all the noobs to kick their icicles and you're like, what is going on? Can we just move on? And then the worst part is they literally null your damage. Like at the very end, if you swipe, you're still swiping. It'll just hit all zeros. It's like, what are you guys doing? Like, quit making things invulnerable if you can still hit it.
Yeah.
Like, it's so tilting. It is so
That doesn't
tilting.
feel good. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I there are some mechanics that are definitely like underwhelming there. One thing that they actually did balance for at least is you don't feel necessarily bad entering a room during a bad phase. I mean, it still feels bad. Like, oh, I just entered Eclipse and he's doing, the moon phase. But they made it so that the bosses are losing, like, they lose HP passively, and the higher HP they are, the more HP they lose during those phases.
Yeah.
So if you, like, join the Eclipse boss during the beginning of the moon phase, by the time it's done, he's down, like, 100 HP. So I like that they balanced for, like, that, not feeling bad going in, but I do, obviously, in any cases where there's a vulnerability or you're standing around doing nothing, obviously is not ideal. But I think generally most people do enjoy moons as like a piece of content, and I think it's a step in the right direction still. And and they definitely tried to do some new things, which I respect.
Totally. No, I do think it is a pro, and I'm always gonna have my little gripes, but like, yeah, the gear is amazing. It's worth going to. It's interesting. They did a really good job with the prep. Yeah.
Do you enjoy Huey Koto more than Moons?
Oh, hell no. He was so boring.
Okay, good. I was about to say it because you went there to get the wand and everything, and I was like,
I didn't even go
Huey's
there. I did not go there for the. I went there to just troll around to get some Huey hide. I just thought like, okay, I'll just maybe do like 100 kills or something in trios and just pull some Huey hide. No, it took me like 280. I still didn't have any, and then I sent a solo, got some hide, and then I sent like another few solos, and I got some more hide. But I ended up getting the wand and the Tome of Earth as well alongside of it, so it just ended up working out pretty nicely.
Okay. I was just checking.
Huey is so boring. It is so boring, and
the mechanics, it's not just boring, but some of the mechanics too, like I cannot stand. Like the tail mechanic, like the one where it does the slam in the wave.
Yeah.
And you have to, I hate that the solution for that is running through the wave.
Oh yeah.
Like to me, that's not intuitive at all. Like especially as a mid game content where you might not be used to that type of stuff. Like obviously you get used to that type of stuff at like Solo Ohm, like running through the lightning and stuff.
Yeah.
But that's like emergent gameplay. Like players like discovered that you could do that, right? They designed Huey to do that. Like, why would it blows my? I'm like, there has to be something here, like some way to bypass this tail that isn't exploit the game effectively.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of issues with that boss.
Yeah, it's really boring, and I mean, I don't know how exactly I feel about it because there is a place for really boring content. And I was running like some 3 and 4 mans with some people like off stream. And I mean, we had like a 5-hour session one of these days. And it was so chill by the end just because I had some good teammates and we were all running it. Like that, you can make content so much better when you have teammates that are just locked and loaded and you're all doing it. Just keep running it. No slowing down. So there definitely were some real positives to Huey because it is so easy, because it is so chill, and like it's so not punishing, even though it's annoying with random lightning and having to change your prayers every little bit and the waves at the end. But I don't know. It's not the worst thing ever, but it's still, it could have been so much better.
Yeah. And there's a balance between something being boring and chill, right?
Yeah.
Because when you can make something chill, it definitely is fun getting in that flow state. And I think in general with PVM, they're trying to like make PVM like interesting or challenging, but ultimately they want you to be able to grind it for like 20, 30, 40, 50 hours. So it needs to be chill as well. And I think we've heard the mods talk about it, right? Like they want to release content that's not like draining to do, right?
Yeah.
Like the Nightmare, for example, right? Like TOA, in my opinion. Like that's content where you've got the difficulty early on and it's fun, but then to repeatedly grind it, it becomes such a slog where it's like, I don't know, where it's like, I don't know, TOB to me is like way more like chill, like solo chambers, like non-scale, just, just yourself or even just 1+1. It's so like chill by comparison.
Yeah.
But it took skill to get there, right? So I'm hoping that more content in the future is like that, where there's that skill gap in the beginning, but then it feels good to grind it out for like 100 hours.
Yeah. It's just getting rid of tedious mechanics, and it's really hard to kind of design that because you have to do hours and hours of testing to really feel that, like to intuit like, okay, this is really annoying.
Yeah.
And so when you're just play testing something for the first time, or you're just running it a few times, like, oh, this all feels great, okay, send it. Like, okay, go grind it for 20 hours and tell me how you feel about it now.
And something that you clearly dislike and a lot of players dislike is any like downtime in phases or invulnerability. Like that's what like a large reason why people don't like Sire, for example, is just like all that time in between doing nothing. And so I'm very happy that they're going to address Sire. And I think that's another way that you make content more desirable long term, is not having those times where you feel bad in between doing nothing or just dodging mechanics but not dealing damage or invulnerability. So I really hope that Sire ends up feeling a lot smoother after the changes.
Yeah,
well.
I'm a bit concerned about the changes. They said they were going to get rid of like 2 of the vents.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah,
that's just so weird.
It's so weird. Like just keep
4 vents and balance around it.
I know, and they already did balance it. They already said that your hit's gonna max hit it. Basically, like it's so if you already have a scorching bow or whatever else, you're still gonna be one-shotting the vents. So just keep all 4. Like that's
like
part of the identity.
Why not just keep 1? Why not just do none? Like if you're gonna make it 2, what's the point?
Yeah,
I like 4 because there's
right.
like there's tiles you can kind of stand on with 4. There's like a path.
It feels. Yeah, there's like some actual pathing, like skill expression mildly. I mean, once you figure it out, it's pretty easy. But it feels the thing that sucked about the vents, and they just resolved it, but then they went a step further and just started going overkill on it. It's like the problem with it was having to refreeze Sire at the end because now you're doing no damage to the vents because it woke up again, and you have to like run back, go freeze it. You've ran out of run energy, even though that's not really a problem anymore because the run energy changes, thank God. But yeah, I mean, just if we could just one-shot the vents or do a max hit to the vents, no matter what weapon we're using. So you just want a big, powerful weapon that's just going to one-shot them. Like, dude, that would solve everything. And then as soon as it wakes up, just be able to start fucking swinging at it. Swing. And there should be no invulnerability. I don't know how difficult that is to code when you do have these transitions, but like, bruh, man, just let us go to town on it. It's just so much more fun.
Definitely, yeah. So I agree, like, they should keep the 4 vents. I'm okay with the whole max hit thing. I actually kind of like the variance of not necessarily always max hitting, but if you made it so that you're always effectively taking out all 4, because the worst was when you just like spent 4 hits on a vent. So really, if they just like got rid of that in some way, whether it's the max hit thing or you're dealing like double damage, I'm totally fine with it. The transition phase. Okay, so here's something that I'm kind of interested in. They're making it so you can attack Sire during the transition phases. You know that, right?
Yeah, I read that.
Yeah. But they're making it so you're dealing reduced damage during that phase. I hate mechanics like that. Stupid. I can't stand it. Like, just if anything, just give him more HP. Like, right? Or do something. I hate dealing less damage arbitrarily.
I don't know how we're in 2025 and they're still thinking that's a good idea.
They're basing it on Vorkath. Like
Vorkath
the precedent is like
Vorkath is the worst offender with it too. It's horrible.
Yeah, with the Wook swap. Like it's like. So they're like, oh well, it's for Vorkath, so we're gonna add it. Oh man, and the polls nowadays are they're all yeses, and sometimes you want to vote yes because you rather have them change it than not change it, right? But when I read that, I'm like, no, like just give him like more health to compensate. Don't punish us.
Yeah, no, it's an absolutely horrible mistake. I mean,
imagine you mistime a spec, like you do it like 1 tick early.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's going to feel like. It's going to feel so horrible. I mean, look at I'm just going to throw out Huey again, like as an example. I mean, Huey's tail during that whole tail thing, especially if you're doing solos that last forever, you're doing no damage. It's not even half damage. It's just like a fucking eighth of your damage that you're doing. Like what is happening here? Why are we going down a route where we're just getting way less damage. Just feels bad. Like, why not just crank the tail's HP super high and then start doing double damage or something? That is going to feel so much better to get like, to be grinding Huey. And then, okay, now I'm actually like, this is a pretty good training method at this point. Like, it's just going to feel good. And Vorkath is so bad because they do two things wrong. One, like during Wook's walking from the get-go, you could always deal like 100% damage, but we're talking like 2017 when this dropped, where they're like, oh no, people are making this fight faster than we had intended, so let's just punish them by doing half damage. And then it's like, dude, like you should be rewarding people for this. And then they have a nulled damage, so whenever it freezes you, or even if it's a tick before freezing you, your ruby or your whatever you just hit nullifies. Like, why are we doing that? We already have a reason to stop attacking it because there's a fucking zombie spawn that's about to blow us up. So why are you gonna also just say, oh, we're just all of a sudden magically invulnerable to everything randomly? Like, come on, like just let us hit. It's so much cooler because then we have a player choice. Like, if we wanted to finish this Vorkath trip and Vorkath is really close to being dead, I'll just tank the zombie spawn. Like, that's an option now. You're giving the player an option to tank the zombie spawn and just keep hitting Vorkath and take that risk. But now it's like, nope, you just got to fucking sit here. And then even after the zombie spawn dies, I'm sorry, I'm just going on a total rant here because I'm so pissed off at this place. It's like, even after the zombie spawn dies, you have to wait a certain amount of time before you can start attacking it because it's still in that invulnerability phase. So if you click a tick early, oh, no, it was still invulnerable. Like, dude, come on. You guys suck for that.
No, I agree. No, I don't think most people don't like that. I will defend the Huey tail. I think that is different. I think that it was intention to open up a space for weapons. In this case, they wanted weapons that deal multiple hit spots to do better. And I think that's fine. I would have actually really liked if Earth spells could penetrate the shield. I think that would have been such a cool mechanic. That would have made the Dragon Hunter wand on the tail like super effective. It'd make the Twin Flame staff pretty damn good there too. I think that would have been a cool mechanic, but that's besides the point. They'll never do that. But I am a tiny defender of that because if they ever release things that have multiple hit spots, like the dual mocks and whatnot, there's kind of this niche use for them.
Yeah. It's I mean, I just don't like the fact that you're doing less damage to the thing. Like, because I would still like it to have an effect where you can.
It doesn't feel good. I get that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I'm totally. I think we agree on Sire. They need to make some changes, and then the changes they made are just so bizarre. Like, what are we doing here?
This is a bit of a holistic topic here, but I feel like recently with these poll blogs and these blogs or these polls we're getting, like they've like started to miss the mark a lot of the times, right? Like we had the saga with obviously the mage gear, but that's like kind of shadow causing that. We had the stackable clue thing recently. We have this sire thing. I'm pretty sure there's a couple other things. The membership poll, obviously. Like, I feel like we hadn't had this much, like, it's not like heavy drama necessarily, but like these signals of like, what are they trying to build? What are they trying to change? Why are they not considering certain things? And I just wonder where that's coming from, or if it's all just coincidence that all these recent kind of polls have had some level of controversy to them.
Yeah, it's just so tough because like I try to be, I guess, like mindful of like, okay, you are designing a game for just millions of players that all have different ideas of what they want in the game, and you got to try to design to the people that are loudest on X that are just screaming about we want end game content, and then you have everybody else that's like kind of more casual and they just want like nice things to do on their mid game, and then you got people that care about skilling, people that care about PvP, and you have to somehow balance this. And then on top of that, when they don't hit the mark, it's like some of the time that mark is impossible to hit because you'll appease one group of players, but like there's going to be so many other groups of players that are like, what do you do? Like, you're going to break this, or you're going to ruin this by doing this, and it's just like, holy crap. So I try to be
I think generally they still do pretty good. I've just noticed like recently it's been like one question or one poll question where it's like, oh, I wonder why they thought about that. Like, why did they think about the sire removing the 2 vents, for instance, right?
Yeah, true.
Just little things like that. I maybe they're trying to. I think maybe they're in a bit of an experimental phase, with like content, new content, revising old. Maybe that's what it is. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting, but generally speaking, they do a fantastic job, and the finished product usually ends up being better in the end. Like we obviously got this back and forth, but they usually take feedback pretty well, and we end up in a good place. I think now with like Yama and the Delve boss, we're pretty fine. Like I think what they're going to give us is fairly reasonable. So ultimately, we end up in a good place. I was just curious your thoughts on
Yeah,
kind of the recent events.
I think we agree mostly. And it's just, I think because they're doing so many things right, it's very weird when you just see something not land at all. You're like, what? Like, you guys seem so in touch, and then all of a sudden it's like, what is this?
Yeah.
So I agree. Okay, so I want to talk about Yama and Delve Boss, but before we jump into that, one of the things you had mentioned was like you like Temperos and you like the fact that it drops spirit flakes for your anglerfish. And I recently watched your video that is entitled "The Slow Decline of Skilling in RuneScape," and one of the things you bring up toward the end is how much of a fan you are of things that help you in skilling coming from PVM sources. So the diabolical worms coming out, going to massively help with the fishing rate at anglers, you thought was a brilliant idea, and it's going to get people to actually enjoy skilling. And in that video as well, I'll kind of have you go into a few more elements of it if you want. But, skilling these days, most skilling besides some forms of rune crafting and sepulcher and some of the higher level stuff is just horrible GP. And we all know the reasons why. I mean, it just first, well, let me just ask this. I mean, this is just such a broad topic, and I could just keep on rambling about stuff. But let me just hear your take on the decline of skilling and what your thoughts are on like spear flakes and diabolical worms and those kinds of systems.
Yeah. So that video actually is doing fairly well too, which is cool to see. Because normally my videos that get more views are more like searchable guides. This is strictly a commentary. Obviously, I think it's the title that draws people's attention more than anything. Obviously, I think there's so many factors at play here. PVM, if you look at the first like 20 bosses released for PVM, there's not like too much to them. You're like either protecting a prayer, maybe you're switching gear, but like that's pretty much it. But like when Zulrah came out, Zulrah had so many new mechanics. Like so many. It had the clouds, different phases. It would attack you like a Jad phase at the end. You'd have to switch gear. Like it combined so many different things that we hadn't seen before. And since Zulrah, like PVM has been better, getting better and better. Like they constantly are pushing the limits of PVM, and we're getting these interesting mechanics. We're getting raids. Like there's so many good things happening with PVM. In the same time since Zulrah's come out, like what have we seen that's worked for skilling? They've added like countless like resource nodes and stuff like that. But generally we don't get the same attention drawn to skilling as we do PVM. And it's justified. Like PVM is like, you could consider the core of the game for most players, at least once they reach a certain point in their account. So it's justified, but skilling hasn't pushed the boundaries the same way. The closest we've sort of gotten are some of the successful mini games. Like I say, Temperos, for example. Sepulcher, I know you're a huge fan of.
Yeah.
Guardians of the Rift is pretty good as well. Like those are all very successful, and I think we need to do more of that. But obviously, not everything can be a mini game, so we need to think outside of the box. And those mini games themselves also need to impact the wider game. So I say Spear Flakes so much because it impacts fishing. I wish Temperos dropped more of them and less fish, because then I would be able to like do more of that, right? And have like less like 500 sharks from Temperos. I think Guardians of the Rift using the actual altars is super clever because it feels like rune crafting. But I do think ultimately they need to, like, how can we evolve skilling, like core skilling, past its current limits? I think that's something we should be thinking about. And one avenue is leveraging PVM to boost skilling, money making, skilling gathering. And we see that with Yama, with these worms that are coming out. So Yama, if they weren't doing these worms, let's say Yama would drop like 30 raw anglers, right? We know that right now with PVM, since Zulrah, which is coincidence, of course, everything drops resources, right? Like you can pretty much get all your resources through PVM. So Yama comes out, and let's say he's dropping 40, 30 anglers as a drop, right? You grab those drops, you never need to go fish anglers, etc. What they're going to do instead is drop worms that enable you to catch anglers at a faster rate, which I'm a big fan of. I really like that. A lot of the comments I got in the video would say stuff like, oh, well, you can't make skilling profitable, like AFK skilling profitable, because it's not justified, because PVM is more difficult. And I totally understand that point. But if you're going to PVM to get rewarded with things that buff your skilling, I feel like it's more justified, right? You can make fishing or whatever more profitable because you put in the time, the difficult time, to get rewarded. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So these worms, I'm a huge fan of, but I do think the balancing of them is going to be extremely difficult. Luckily, Mod Rice, who looks like he's in charge of the worms, or he developed the worms, he watched that video, and he's, so it's awesome he saw my thoughts, but he seems very aware of this as well. I think there needs to be you need to strike the right balance between how many worms you're getting and how fast you're gathering anglers. You can't just replace the drop one for one. You can't just say, okay, well, instead of giving 50 anglers, you're going to get 50 worms. Because mains aren't going to want to go fish those worms. It's going to feel like a bad drop. Those worms are going to absolutely crash in price. Ironman might feel okay with them still, but it's still not going to be worthy. So you need to give more worms than you would have gotten anglers, because you're going to go out of your way to go fish them. And you need to balance how many worms you're going to give based on how quickly you're gathering these anglers. If you're gathering them like very, very quickly, then I guess you could justify giving, less worms, less of an increase of worms. But if you're still gathering them and it takes you time, then you need to give out potentially more worms. And it's this balance of trying to factor those two. How is it going to affect the economy? Is it ever going to feel worth it for mains to, on their downtime, use these worms to gather more anglers or not? So I'm excited for it, but I definitely think balance is going to be important.
Yeah, and I do like that avenue that they're going down, especially with gathering skills. I think it's a great design choice, and we'll see, because honestly, in my view, I just think it would be great to go rock over to anglers with a huge stack of these diabolical worms and just, genuinely like have the fishing rate be something like Karambwans, where it's like,
oh yeah,
basically every time. I don't know what Karambwans is at, like 99, maybe like 80% of the time you're catching one or something every 5 ticks or whatnot.
Yep. Yep.
That would be huge for anglers. It would just,
I think
that
so,
would
yeah.
feel so good. Just
yeah,
loading up. Yep.
And that's like that. Like if you go that route where it's that fast, then instead of dropping like 50 anglers, you'll give maybe like 100 worms or something like that, right? If you made it slower, like you made it like not as fast as Karambwas, maybe you drop like 150 worms instead, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to balance it. Some people might enjoy being a little bit AFK at anglers, but at the same time, like even Karambwans is fairly AFK, even at the speed with the fish barrel.
Yep.
You're still sitting there for like 3.5 to 5 minutes, depending on your level.
Mm-hmm.
So I like it. One thing that was brought up in the comments is RS3 kind of does this. They replaced like certain drops with something called like spirit stones. And I think there's mixed opinions of that in RS3. And I think there's cases where accounts feel bad getting them as drops, and because they don't go and get the resources, not worth it. And I don't think they sell for much on the G as a result, right? So that's something they have to avoid. So I'm happy. I think RS3 maybe did this all at once, which is very difficult to get the proper balance. Them doing this once and making sure they really nail it before scaling it out is super important. And that's what Mod Rice mentioned as well in his comment.
Yeah, I think as far as I'm aware, I haven't played RS3, but it feels like they went way overboard with just kind of making everything sort of like what, I don't even know what it's called. Like everything's like, oh, you can't actually use this resource yet until you do the skilling portion of it, and that just feels bad. I think in theory, like on paper, when you can just get these like I can't even remember what the name is called. I'm like struggling to remember what I think. What's like the name for something where like you get it but you can't actually use it until you go to the source? So like you would get these like broken logs or something.
Like a component, maybe?
Yeah, like components. It's like that. It's like components in theory, it all sounds great, but then you're actually playing and you're like, this is horrible. Like just give me the resources at this point. But
yeah,
you just have to be like appropriate with it and not go overboard. And I think diabolical worms are a great choice.
Yeah,
it just feels like
super
bait.
excited.
Yeah, it just feels like bait. It's like a more powerful bait, so that's cool.
And then I want to use them in combination with my Spirit Flakes. Like, how fast am I going to get anglers?
And the
I have
Ra's
like
Blessing. Yeah, that's gonna be
I have like
huge.
4,000 Spirit Flakes because I've been doing Temporos. I did a guide on it recently. You can get over 20 points a game with this method. Not a lot of people know about it, which is kind of crazy. And
Oh, you're gonna have
man,
to tell
I
me about
stacked up.
that. Is it
Oh,
firefighting? What do you?
it's firefighting, but it's got like it's actually kind of fun. It's honestly I've done like pretty much all PVM in this game, right? Like I've done the Colosseum, Inferno, Awakened bosses, stuff like that. And I failed doing this method of Temporis for learning so many times, but it's pretty tight. We're talking about pushing the boundaries of skilling. I know like firefighting's not really super skilling. Maybe it should give fire making XP, but it's just you. The difference between firefighting with this method and with the like the current method and this method that gives you a ton of points is you're kind of choosing what fires to take out, and you'll like take out all the fires in an area except for like some recent ones. Then you'll go to the other side of the island, take out some fires except the recent one, and basically that allows the fires to continually propagate. And it's really fun. Honestly, it's super tight timing. You can kind of like limit your points, get 18 points or something like that, and then you have more timing. But yeah, there's a lot of decision making with it, which I really like, and it's just really cool to get that many points to let the fire spread. The games are like, I had a 12 and a half minute game and I got 21 points, for example.
Oh my god.
And
Okay.
it's crazy. Yeah. So
huge.
the video I said 100 points per hour. That's probably like the really high end, honestly. It's just a nice title for YouTube.
Of course.
But you can probably get about 90-ish points, which is still like better than most methods on YouTube. The only methods that cover what I explained in this video were like 2 videos and they both had under 1,000 views. So I felt like I wanted to make it more noticeable. So I stacked up flakes like super quickly as a result. And I'm going to continue to go back to Temporos to do that method.
I'm going to have to check that out because it depends how good it is. I mean, do you need like an infernal harpoon for it? Do you need 99 fishing in order to
You don't need 99 fishing.
Okay.
Infernal harpoon, yes, but like I feel like you could sacrifice that and get maybe
fewer
17,
points.
18 points.
Yeah.
And you'd be fine. Lunars is really like the only hard thing you probably need.
Of course. Okay. I'll have to check it out. That's interesting because I still haven't done any Temporos on this account. And now that I have a fairy ring in my POH, I'm like, ooh, I really want to go do Karam ones. Actually, to be fair, once you get a fairy ring in your POH, like, yeah, you can AFK for longer with the fishing barrel, but it is really nice banking with your butler, actually. Because you don't even have to go to the crafting guild or wherever else to bank your fish. You just bank with your butler as you're running back to the fairy ring, which can feel pretty good, but it's a little bit more interactive.
Oh yeah, I fired
not quite
him.
as AFK.
You
fired your butler? Oh, that's fucked up.
I just once I had the house done, like I was like, okay, it's a great like. Once I was done with the whole plank talking to him thing, I just got rid of him. But it is definitely good. Just a few more clicks you have to do, definitely. If they ever update it, I'll re-add him in.
Yeah. The butler with Karamban fishing is great, especially if you don't have a fishing barrel. As soon as you have a fishing barrel, it's like you may as well just AFK really hard and just bank them. But it's also nice for if you really want to do Gigatech. I guess if you have that, well, now they have a secondary pouch, so it's probably not as good anymore. But it used to be the case before the secondary pouch, or for accounts that don't have the secondary pouch, you would just go collect your Mortmire fungus and then use your butler to bank it as well and just immediately go back to the fairy ring.
Nice. Yeah.
So,
I haven't tested actually that pouch, yeah.
One of the things I found interesting is, I like how you are discussing in the skilling video how the trajectory of PVM has been over the years versus skilling, where skilling barely sees any skill expression whatsoever. It feels like every single skilling method must appeal to every single person in this game, whether they have any experience with the game at all. Like it feels like everything has to be dumbed down super like to like the basically so every possible player can interact with it. And I just think that's like the worst possible game design choice. Sepulchre was such an amazing update because it didn't go down that route. It's genuinely a challenging thing to learn, and once you get it down, you feel really good. But PVM, they totally embrace it, and skilling, they never embrace that stuff. And I'm like, how you make good skilling content, and don't get me wrong, you could always have the AFK method, you can have all the methods that are available now, but if you want skilling to really thrive, you got to come out with skill expression in these in mini games or just skilling methods in general. And I mean, I've had some ideas. I don't need to go into detail on this cast necessarily for them, but it's harder with some gathering and some like kind of like traditional bank standing skills with that. But we have a couple examples of like, I would say agility and thieving are the two skills that don't quite make it into the either the like the bank standing or the gathering skills. Or the viable, I should say, or gathering. But like, you could make such amazing skill expression filled mini games around agility and thieving, for that matter. Like something that genuinely is fun, rhythmic, bouncy. I always use the term like bouncy or snappy because holy fuck, I was doing Pyramid Plunder. This is another rant I'm going to go on, just similar to the Vorkath and whatever else rant. But like Pyramid Plunder, some people swear by that minigame. I think it's just the people that, you know, it's so funny. I was doing Pyramid Plunder and Hey Jace rated me. Hey Jace is one of those players that, you know, grinded 200 mil thieving from Pyramid Plunder the whole time. And this is back when the game was just so different. And I feel like players like him, players that really grinded out this content, just swear by it. They think it's the greatest thing of all time. And they're just so jaded, I swear to God, that's just like, this is not a great minigame. Like, this is just horrible. And it's so, it's just like you're glued to the ground for everything. You're trying to lock these doors. As soon as it fails, you got to sit there for another 2 ticks looking into the fucking abyss of the door because your guy can't move. And then you start clicking an urn and you got to wait for it. Then you get hit by a snake or whatever, you get bit and you're just like fucking standing there and getting stunned. I'm like, dude, I brought up an example. I'm not claiming this should be how it is, but it would be a huge improvement and they would have to balance the XP rates accordingly. But like, can you just imagine walking into Pyramid Plunder and every single urn that's around can be 1 ticked?
Oh yeah.
So imagine how much fun that would be to go into a room and just go boom, 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 boom. I mean, you're literally just clicking on them, and every single time you've clicked it, they open. And bro, you would just run through those rooms and like you'd find like the perfect path, you know? So you'd find, okay, how few ticks can I lose? You know, which path should I do to loot the urns? Go to the next room, boom. It's just like, dude, that would be so fun. And like the initial booby trap where you have to get past that like spear wall or something, that is so sluggish. And then you're walking past it. Why the hell are we walking past a booby trap? Run, jump, like do
just
anything.
Run past it. Wait for the timing and run. Yeah,
I know. It's like, dude, this place could be improved monumentally, and I'm just like, oh man, the amount of potential for skilling. It doesn't even need to be difficult. Just be snappy, fun, bouncy, and just like engaging. Like, holy shit!
I think the 1 tick thing would be great. I like what would be cool too is if they restructured some of the urns so there were like spots where you can back to back 1 tick, like a couple urns. Like it would feel good to have those spots. Kind of like, you know, gem mining, right?
Yeah.
How like you want to run to those areas where there's like 2 or 3 rocks so you can like go one after the other and not lose ticks.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm a big fan of that, for instance. So if they like move some of the urns so that you can click, like that could be very satisfying. Cool. Yeah,
that would.
Yeah, I think
there's so much they can do. Yeah, what were you gonna say?
No, I think skilling. I think we have this notion that skilling can't be difficult. But like, I think they could definitely make skilling more difficult. I think there are some obvious sepulcher-like things we can do for stuff like thieving, right? You can pretty much make the sepulcher version of thieving, for example, where you have to like thieve some vault, right?
Yep.
And there's like booby traps and stuff like that. I think you could do like. So those are the ones that always come up, but like just talking in a conversation, like I feel like there's other skills you can do. I know it's like a bit corny, and I don't think it needs to be a mini game too. It could be part of the overworld, so it doesn't feel like a mini game. But like Hunter, for example, right? Why is there not like some? If actually, let me backpedal.
Okay.
What I'm thinking in my head right now is you can't make skilling hard because PVM's hard because you got to attack a boss, right? And the boss does mechanics. Like you can't really do that in skilling. But now that I'm thinking about it, what can make skilling difficult and fun is interacting with the environment, making the environment difficult, right? That's what makes Sepulcher really good. That's what could make, you know, maybe Pyramid Plunder better by making the environment more pleasant or more difficult or whatever the case is. So with Hunter, for example, I've literally never thought of this before. Like, why is there like a training method where we're hunting like a dangerous beast, right? And we're not like attacking the boss, but there's things in the environment we need to like avoid from this beast, right? Like he might throw out like you know, tar from a swamp or something like that, right?
Yep.
Or right, and it's like, okay, we're hunting and we're training hunting. We're not attacking the boss, but it's difficult because I'm interacting with the environment around me, right? I think that would be really cool. And again, I've never thought about this before. You talked about this being difficult for gathering, right? Why not, like, let's take woodcutting, for example. Why is there not like this super dangerous forest where you have to go through this path and there's these branches attacking you and there's whatever. But if you navigate through the path, there's like a tree at the end where you can train your wood cutting on, maybe make some good money, whatever log it is. I don't know what it is. And then you go back and you teleport back and you have to like run that route. Like
Yeah.
it's a wood cutting method. You're going there to get it, but you're going through this forest. And it's like, that's like, I don't think that like anyone's ever really thought about like what are ways we can experiment with skilling being difficult and having the environment be the catalyst of that difficulty. And it just opens up a can of worms. I've literally never thought about this until our discussion. But it's just, I feel like PVM's gotten so much love, and we just haven't thought about things like this before.
Yep. No, you're totally right. And it doesn't even have to necessarily be difficult. Like, difficulty is a route you can go down with skilling to make things more interesting and engaging. But I honestly think the way skilling can be rhythmic. Like, really embrace the rhythm and the snappiness and the flow of these skills. I mean, you see it with, Sepulchre, yeah, it does have an element of difficulty, but ultimately it is really just rhythm, and it's noticing patterns long term. And then it's honestly just a lot of pattern recognition of like understanding things, and then your muscle memory kind of starts clicking. And one of the things I would love to see, this is something I brought up years back with the, they came out with the True Blood altar, and the True Soul altar apparently comes from menopause. And I think that when that opens, we're going to get the True Soul altar. And I was just thinking, dude, how cool would it be if you had like, so you know how in ZMI you have 2 routes, but nobody ever takes that middle route where there's like no enemies? It just takes fucking forever,
Yeah.
But imagine the Soul, True Soul altar did have 2 different routes. One of them is just the AFK route, and one of them is a Sepulchre path, basically Sepulchre-ish path running to the altar. So it's like, it's almost like, it doesn't even have to be that level of difficulty. It could be kind of like a soda seg maze sort of thing that randomizes every time. So you basically get a soda seg maze every time you're running to the altar to craft your runes. Like, that could be kind of engaging. That's a very simplistic version of it, because soda seg mazes ultimately are pretty simple once you get them down. But anything like that could be so much more engaging for rune crafting. And you could make like 2 paths. You could make like one have the AFK route, one have the soda seg maze, and then one have like a floor 5 Sepulchre thing going on. And that floor 5 Sepulchre, if you nail it, it's going to be very difficult, and you'll get sent back if you're not good enough at it, and it'll end up slowing down your rates. But if you're really good, these are going to be the crazy rates where you're getting like really good rune crafting XP.
Oh yeah, I think the soda seg maze is like a great example where, yeah, it really isn't. I guess I use difficulty pretty loosely, but yeah, it's not just difficulty. Like it's like feeling it out. Like the soda seg maze is not really difficult, right? When you first do it, you're kind of cautious. You're going slow, but then when you start to get the hang of it and you start to use like the corner skips, you start to find those long diagonals. Soda seg mazes does feel good, right? And it doesn't have to be literally a soda seg maze exactly, but that type of thing where in the beginning you're kind of clicking, figuring it out, but then later on you're like, you just see the map and you kind of just intrinsically understand where to click because you're so experienced and it feels good. That's an awesome idea, right? To make skilling. And the better you get, the more money you make with, blood rune crafting, right?
Yep.
Because you're getting through the route faster. So yeah, no, that's a great idea.
So I want to touch on the I'm going to try to find the blog post. They were talking. So you know how like you were going to be able to craft things. I'm kind of moving on to Yama at this point. There's going to be a way to like get oath plate shards or whatever the hell. I need to find this post really quick.
Yeah, there's going to be a mine at the bottom of the Fire of Chasm that you can like passively get these shards at. Kind of like what's the shards that you get from? Is it the Moon's place? No. There's a place where you can get shards for something. I can't remember what it was. Or even like Zulrah scales, for example, right? Like you can fish them and it's slow, but then you can do Zulrah to get like more of them quickly. So I guess it's similar to that.
Where was the thing they were sending. There was like a picture of. Oh, here it is. Here it is. I found the blog. I'll link it over to you if you care. But so on this blog, it shows like this. This is something I'm just interested in. So I'll just read it. It says, eagle-eyed readers will undoubtedly have noticed that we're still calling it Oathplate armor, despite some feedback that Oathplate plate body was a bit of a mouthful. Oh, wait. Okay, so I'm reading the wrong thing. So anyway, they're just talking about like them naming it. But then it says, beyond Yama itself, we've made great progress on the Chasm of Fire skilling activities. Take a look. The video above should give you a look at what you'll find yourself doing if you're looking to earn some GP by skilling or make a piece of Oathplate armor for yourself using armor shards. One player can be seen mining some infernal shard at a large vein. This is a super laid back approach that's very low intensive, but doesn't yield a high output. Next to them, you can see somebody mining considerably more actively and wiping the sweat from their brow, but there's not a pestle and mortar in sight. We'll leave you to speculate on this one for now. Just know that you've got a variety of options for gathering up your infernal shale. So this gets me so pumped. I haven't even like covered like this on a specific ramble, but this seems like something where they're kind of going to introduce some version of like a gnome cube, I think. And I don't know if you've heard my whole...
Yes, I have.
Surely you have. I was going to say, like, if you listen to any of my content, you've fucking heard this. But I think this is them going to maybe try to introduce something like that, which I personally think is like one of the best things they can do for... It's such a simple thing. It doesn't solve all the problems with skilling, not even close. But it's a huge step forward to just getting rid of just horrible nuisances of just destroying your wrist for no fucking reason. Like, can we just embrace the rhythm of skilling? We don't need to embrace the just wrist breaking activities of knife logging every single 3 ticks to get something. Like, holy hell. So I'm excited.
So I'm watching the video here, and in between each rock, the character is literally wiping its forehead.
Yeah.
So is that an item that we're clicking?
I have no idea.
Or is that just like the mechanic of the place where it's just like automatically these things are going to be like, you're going to be 3-ticking automatically? Like, I have no idea.
I would, if it was seriously, and what I mean by, so I want to like clarify, like Gnome Cube is not an essential thing at all. It's simply an item that doesn't completely devalue what people want from, knife log. It's reducing 1 click every time, which is already a substantial benefit. But I'm okay with skilling methods becoming so chill where it really is just focusing on the rhythm. I mean, if you could just click a rock, not lose the rhythm, and not have to click anything in your inventory every time, like that would still be a route to go down. I mean, there's still balancing problems for those skillers out there that would see this as a massive devaluement, and so we have to obviously keep them in mind. But like, bro, if you could just mine and keep a nice 3-tick rhythm and just go to town, and if you mess it up, then obviously you're losing XP. Something happens, like, dude, I'm all about just maintaining rhythm. I think that's something that is just so good in skilling.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it looks like they're gonna. I don't know if it's gonna be an item or it's gonna be like just timing, but it looks like there's gonna be something here related to timing.
Yeah,
where when you get the timing down, you're gonna get, because he's mining the rocks pretty quickly in this video.
Yeah, it's every 3. It looks like 3-tick 4G.
Yeah, so I'm guessing there's some in like maybe it's just baked into the area, the timing, and it's just a matter of you clicking the rocks at the right time, or maybe there's something that we're holding. I don't know, but that's really cool to see. I hadn't seen that before.
Yeah. I'm excited. I'm excited to see that, because that's going to be, if it is something that's universal, not just locked to this place. First of all, I do think it should be a universal type of thing so that every skilling can enjoy, rhythm. But if they're just going to send it to this place to not, disrupt any metas or whatnot, then that would be good enough.
I think it's them testing the waters, similar to what they're doing with the worms, right? If we see this and all of a sudden they're like, players love this, like, oh my God, this feels so good. Right? Not for money making, but literally just feels good. I could see them wanting to expand on this in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't understand. Are you just getting the shards and then crafting the armor, or is there a piece you need to craft the armor on top of the shards?
I was wanting to ask you on that. I'll have to look up the old blog. Let me look up the old blog and see what exactly they're talking about. This is in March. So Yama of packs. They said something down here about, let me see. Okay, they don't say anything in the patch notes. So rewards. Equipment rewards. So additional Chasm of Fire amenities. It says, under the mining section, as a sneak peek, though, we've got a brand new mining method that will get you some rare and exciting new ore. In exchange for a bit of physical labor, you'll earn a new ore, which can be combined with armor shards dropped by Yama.
Okay, got it. I see.
Okay, so let's see. To forge a chunk of Oathplate armor for yourself. Armor shards are a common drop, so you can choose to save them up for a piece that you're missing, or you could sell them for a tidy profit. Okay, so I'm pretty sure how Yama works is you can get the pieces directly, but you can also get armor shards. I don't think it's just armor shards, or maybe I'm wrong.
Okay. No. I think you can get the pieces directly, yeah. But then it's like the plan is like if you get unlucky and you get like dupes of a piece and whatnot, that at some point you're going to have enough shards to craft a piece, the missing one.
And you need the ore to do that. So
yeah. Okay. But like how much ore you need, right? Like I assume if you've built up all the shards, you just got to go get a few ore and you're ready to go. So I'm trying to understand what the long-term use of the skilling method is. Like if maybe it's an XP method. I don't know. It's interesting. I have to reread the blog. I guess I kind of didn't dig into that as much.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, but I think it's cool the route they're going down, and it sounds like Oathplate genuinely is going to be something that's quite easy. I'm not easy, but like it feels like an armor that you can kind of just go for quite quickly in a way. Like it feels like they're making a lot of easy routes to it.
It doesn't require like Bandos components like Torva does.
Exactly.
Either,
yeah.
Right. I have Torva legs and Torva helm. So like give me that chest and I'm good to go. I'm pretty sure the meta is going to be for slash weapons at least. You're going to wear the oath plate body and legs and then Torva helm. I think that's what is like the best setup apparently.
Yeah.
So that actually works well for my Ironman because I don't have the Torva plate body. So yeah. Okay, cool. I do think it is going to be potentially like sort of rushable. It depends on how hard the content is. But yeah, it doesn't require the components. So it's going to be a standalone piece you can get right away instead of going, 40 hours Bandos and then 100 hours next or whatever.
Yeah. I'm excited. I really want Oathplate on this account.
I honestly, the rewards as a whole for Yama are pretty good. How do you feel about the horn?
Yeah, that was something we kind of touched on. This is something, again, like I think it's an interesting thing. I like how, you were saying earlier, Jagex likes to test things and just kind of experiment. And there were some concerns, but I think they addressed it. The main concerns were for Ironman. Like I didn't want this horn. They had basically the horn was going to be able to be used and, Ironman could benefit. And then they made a change saying, okay, only if you've obtained a horn yourself can you get the benefit from other people using the horn on you. And then there was even further concerns that I addressed in one of my videos of like, I do not want to see you doing Slayer and just constantly like C-Hallying necks on an Ironman just because you have a horn and now you got 5 other horn alts just blowing their horn and just unlimited specking. For mains, I mean, you already have it. You can already do that with spec transferring, but for irons, that would completely destroy some metas. And so I like it how what they've decided to do now is like the horn for other accounts to use a horn on an Ironman. It's just in specific places like raids and stuff.
Yeah.
So, I
think that's a decent approach. They'll just have to, if for future content, they need to like make sure they add it because it's going to be like that line of code that they're going to have to like, or the few line, right? So they have to keep up with it. I can imagine them releasing content in the future, like way down the line, someone being like, oh, Soul Horn doesn't work here. Oh, okay, we added it next patch. So they'll have to do that constantly. Yeah, I think it's not a bad solution. I think you're going to notice maybe the weapon will look visually different when it's working versus not working as well. So it'll be clearer to players when you can use it and when you can't. I guess you're just going to click on it and it's going to say the horn doesn't work or something like that, right? Because we mentioned earlier, I don't like it when things work differently in other places. This isn't really that, obviously, but it's sort of in that vein. But hopefully there's some easy way to tell without going to the wiki. You can just kind of be at the content and make it work. Yeah. I do think some of the use cases for it are interesting. I don't know if you've like dug into where it's going to get used a lot or what combos. I have to kind of remember. So, well, first of all, weapons is kind of a big deal, right? So I think in most cases, people are going to use this for defense lowering, right? So you're going to use your Dragon Warhammer, your Elder Mauls. You're going to guarantee like hammers on Ulm, stuff like that. Tecton already has it, but maybe follow-up hammers. So that's very obvious. What I'm interested in though is like outside of the defense training, like what are some weird ways we can use this weapon with other melee gear? And the way the spec works is kind of unique. So it affects the next melee hit splat, right? That's a guaranteed hit. So if you think about DDS, for example, that's 2 hit splats. So only the first one would be guaranteed with the horn, right? The second one would likely miss. So you can't just DDS like some crazy high defense monster because you're going to miss that second spec.
Yep.
It's not going to do anything. However, it works off the first hit slot. If we look at the way that Dragon Claws and Burning Claws work, if you roll a successful hit on your first hit, the rest of them hit as well. It works differently than a DDS or an Abbey Dagger. So this horn is actually going to make Dragon Claws and Burning Claws like guarantee max hit, which is when they first max hit.
Is it max hit or just guarantee hit?
Sorry, it's going to guarantee that all 4 hit spots work. So, but that ends up being a high threshold. So if I go to Dragon Claws, for example, let me try to go to the wiki.
Oh, you're right,
Claws.
because if it's 100% accuracy, it's a really high chance it gets to that max hit threshold.
Yeah, because I think basically if you hit don't quote me on the exact numbers, but I think when you hit the first hit for Dragon Claws, you end up rolling between 150 and 200% of your max hit. I think that's what it is, right?
That's crazy.
So you're always going to be hitting that on it. Actually, it says it right here. Let me see if I can find. I'm looking at the thresholds. Yeah, because basically the more you miss and hit later in the spectrum, you get like a smaller range. But this one should. Honestly, whenever you read the special attack for the thing on the wiki, the Dragon Claws is always so difficult. Here we go. Yeah, if all attacks hit, the damage is dealt 1 to 2 times your original max hit. So that's insane because you're always gonna hit that, and it all the hit spots work because of the way that the claw works, right? Unlike Dragon Dagger, where it's only gonna work on the first hit spot, this will essentially, because the first one's hitting, all of them are gonna hit. So this is gonna make Dragon Claws and Burning Claws. I think Burning Claws can hit up to 1.75 times your hit, and it's only cost 30% spec as well. It's going to make those very good in some cases. And it almost encroaches on Void Waker. So you're going to be able to use Dragon Claws, for instance, on Nex. Like you're going to be able to hit Nex with Dragon Claws.
That's going to be crazy.
And because Dragon Claws are more powerful, like because Void Waker can hit to 150% of your max hit, right?
Yeah.
It's between 50 and 150. This is between 100 and 200. So it is objectively better. So, question, we still have to see, like, somebody's not going to have a Void Waker as a result at Nex, for example. So, like, will it be worth the trade-off? We'll have to see. But being able to guarantee hit Dragon Claws and Burning Claws on, like, Nex is going to be so, like, interesting to see and see if that's going to be meta in some cases. But you need somebody to bring a horn. And I think there's a lot of skill required to make sure you're, within the range of everybody, so everybody's affected, and you're attacking at the right time. You don't want to waste the hit spot by accidentally hitting with a fang when you're boosted, right? So there's a lot of skill involved. So maybe it's justified. Maybe Void Waker's simpler, right? But a lot of people are talking about defense reduction for the horn, but I've been like really trying to think of these weird cases where like Dragon Claws could be powerful.
Yeah, claws are going to be crazy. That is the one actual problem I do have with this thing is it says your closest allies within 2 tiles have the accuracy. Like that is so small of a range. I don't like that, honestly. I wish it was like 5.
It's small. I agree, but like a 2 radius around you is a 5x5 square.
Yeah.
So it's like it's small and it can be annoying because players can be on different ticks if they're moving or like different places if they're moving, like their true tile. I do wish maybe 2 more tiles of range would be good, but I guess you can chalk it up as to like skill expression. Like people who are really good at using the horn are going to get rewarded.
That's true.
Right. But yeah, maybe a couple more tiles of range could be. Yeah. Maybe one more tile.
I would have liked it to have like the bulwark range. I think it's like a 5. It's like a 9x9 around your player or something like that.
There's a chance though, if you limit it, if you make it too large, there might be cases where you're doing large group content where only a few people are supposed to spec. And you want those specific people to get the buff. And I guess it could prioritize the people closest to you. I think that's even what it's going to do. So yeah,
Hmm.
maybe it could have been a little bit wider range.
I'm just thinking like it's a horn. Like this isn't just like some
That's
little.
true. Like people can hear beyond 2 tiles.
Yeah, it's just weird. But whatever. I mean, you're right about the skill expression. Like this is going to be much more difficult to use because of that.
Yeah, and speaking of weapons, so another thing that maybe some people aren't thinking about, people are always trying to associate. Okay, I'm gonna blow my spec, and then I'm gonna use a spec weapon, right? You don't have to use a spec weapon. You can use like a melee weapon and deal a guaranteed hit. So we know Scythe won't work with this because Scythe is 3 hit splats and it doesn't work like Claws. Scythe was going to be OP, right? Like for this, because you'd be able to like Scythe next, for example, and use no spec. Just once in a while, switch to Scythe, do the horn, hit for like a big number. That's not going to be possible, but single hit weapons, what exists out there? And what it could be a very troll one in some cases, but might actually be some world record tech in other cases, is for me, full Darox. Imagine someone blows a horn, the person in full Darox is low HP and swings, and you're guaranteed to hit. Right?
Oh,
you might
shit.
only hit a 20, but the possibility of you hitting like 100 is there. And the monster could have 1,000 slash defense. It doesn't matter. It's going to hit. And that to me is an interesting use case that maybe for some world record things
Oh
and
my God,
maybe
you're right.
general use could come up.
You're right, dude. This is exciting because of that potential, because of all these older things that you would never really use, and especially different styles, like what you're talking about. Like you're using something on slash that has super, super, super high slash, but if you use this horn, it's like, dude, you go to town on it. That's cool.
Yeah, and even outside of Darox, like Darox is obviously the highest skill. We'll say you need to be low HP. It costs 4 inventory slots, right? So it might not be super viable in some cases, but even just a high hitting melee weapon like Noxious Halberd, or maybe if you're camping like Soul Reaper Axe, when you're at 5 stacks, if someone blows a horn, just having that guaranteed hit could potentially be effective. But I am looking at the boss list to see if there's any weird bosses where you might use like Darox, where you wouldn't typically use like, I don't know, even like Nightmare, even though no one does group Nightmare. Like that could be a big hit. There could be some corpse strategies with certain, like with the Noxious Halberd, because it deals full damage. Maybe there's a way to like not have to reduce his defense. God War's Dungeon, like in groups, like, when people are just chilling and doing groups, couldn't you bring melee weapons to like Ziliana and just try to one banger with like Dragon Claws? Right? Like
Holy crap, you're right.
If you had like 2 or 3 people there and you drank even Burning Claws. Burning Claws are even better in some ways because
dude, that's gonna be nuts. Well, here's the thing. You can already do nuts strats with like, you just have literally 4 people at Zillion with T-bows. You're gonna kill in like 2 hits each. But man, if you roll up and you got a guy with a horn and you're going to God Wars with 3 of you, just literally claw them. And now we have surge potions coming out too. So you're going to have these like surge potions giving you spec restore back. Yeah. Dude, things are going to get pretty crazy.
Double death charge, so you're going to get 30% spec back from the 2 minions that are in Ziliana.
You're right.
You would never melee Ziliana, but like it might not be a thing, but I'm just it opens up a lot of potential uses, but it does require group and it does require like communication. It might not be worth the effort, but it is something I'm thinking about with the horn. I think a lot of people right now are defaulting just where can I guarantee reduce.
You're right.
Which is probably going to be its main use case, but I don't think enough people have thought about where it could get used.
Just think about Bandos. I mean, if you just go to Bandos and you all have claws, you could just do 3-man. You could do a 3-man. You could have a 4-man. It'd have the 4th guy be a total noob with a horn, and the 3 of you are just going to claw it down. Because, I mean, dude, claws do massive damage if you're in max melee. And so, you all claw once and then just take one more hit at it with a fang or something. And then you're going to death charge back at your surge potion. Yeah, holy crap.
I think Burning Claws, like if we use Burning Claws, like, okay, so let's say we were to do the strategy with Voidwaker. It's 50%, it's 50 to 150% of your damage, right? Instead, you could have do your Burning Claws, which is 0.7% to, I think, 1.75%. So it is like 25% stronger than Voidwaker. And it costs 30 spec, right? It costs less spec. So Yeah,
burning
Dragon
claws
Claws
are
are
gonna go
obviously
crazy.
stronger, but if there's ever a case where you're like running out of spec or whatever, just use Burning Claws.
That's right. That's actually right. You should just bring burning claws. You use 2 of those specs, each of you. Like if you're just like a 3-man bando, it's just each of you do 2 burning claw specs every kill.
And you're done. Yeah. Yeah, even if you have to switch to like a Bofa for one hit or whatever, but like you probably won't have to because their defense, they only got like 255 HP.
Yeah.
So it's pretty good. And then so I'm excited for the horn. The one thing I'm sort of worried about with the horn has to do with like contribution, right? If you're the person blowing the horn and like everyone else is dealing like insane damage, like in the cases where we're using like claws and stuff, like let's say P2 Verzik, right?
Mm-hmm.
There could be a use case for this where when Verzik is at like 20%, somebody blows the horn and then everybody claws Verzik and you finish P2 like way earlier. Like you skip reds like way earlier, right? Are you ever going to get an MVP if you're like the horn blower? Everybody else is dealing increased damage. Like do they have a solution for that or not?
I don't think
or do you have to rotate?
I don't think there even needs to be a solution. I think it's just the fact that most mains that are doing group content are splitting.
Yeah.
And if you're going to use the horn, you're probably just a good person. You're like, oh, I'll use the horn. I don't really care. You know, it's just like, we're just going to do it for this part of this boss, this part of this boss. It's whatever. And you're just going to be seen as like the legend, you know, but it's just playing your part.
Okay. I see.
Because I don't know. I just
But it's going to be mains then most of the time, right?
Totally.
You don't want to snipe the Iron Man purple if you're going to split anyway.
Exactly. Iron Men are always going to be leeching. They ain't ever blowing that horn.
We're going to get the MVPs. Yeah. It's our time to shine. We'll see, though. But that could create some sort of toxic with, like, you know, World 416s and stuff. But I highly doubt stuff like... I highly doubt every Tob's going to run with horns. Like, it's going to be for specific groups.
I mean, think about Tob in general. Like, there's only one person that's getting MVP per room anyway. So if you're already having a role that's not just DPS role, you already didn't get MVP that room. So just fucking blow the horn. It's like, who cares?
Yeah. But yeah, no, there's a lot. This could be used in TOA as well. Like, I think you'd be able to Dragon Claws Kefri, which you'd never do. Like, I don't know. There's so many. Oh, Mudadial was one I thought of. Never missing a ZGS on Mudadial. Always freezing Mudadial is so quality of life. I'm so excited for that. Yeah, there's a lot of use cases. I'm quickly skimming through my video to see what there is, but yeah, those are kind of the key ones. And then I think the Hornblower, depending on how many people, might also have to be the Lightbearer camper because you will end up using more spec than others in most cases. So you'll have to regen it quicker. So that's probably the other thing that they'll have to do is carry, like, so not only will they deal less damage as a whole, but they'll also deal less damage because they won't be able to bring like Altor, for example. So that'll be interesting. Or they'll have to bring an extra switch or whatever. It'll be interesting to see. So it's a cool weapon though. I'm excited.
It's cool because it also encourages more team play. Like there's obviously always incentive to just do your raids and stuff solo, but this is going to allow you to like really push the limits with team content, which is cool. Let's talk about sailing a little bit. Hear your thoughts. I briefly saw your video expressing, you know, how you felt about the sailing alpha and everything, but I want to get your brief overview of how you feel about sailing currently.
Yeah, so the sailing alpha, I participated in it quite a bit. I had sort of mixed opinions, at least early on. The more I played it, actually, the more I enjoyed it, though, which was interesting. I didn't expect that because when I kind of ran out of leveling, I thought I'd be like, okay, well, there's nothing to do here, right? But I actually started to enjoy it more because I started to just focus on the things I wanted to do rather than trying to complete the alpha, rather than trying to do all the methods, right? Some of the training methods, like I did not stand like what's it called? Charting the sea. I did not like at all, right? But I don't think I was treating it properly. I think charting the sea, when the skill comes out, I'm going to treat as like a passive thing, like on the way I might do it. But I did not enjoy it at all. I didn't enjoy the animations, like the spyglass animation, where you have to sit there and like wait. I could not stand that. And yeah, so just get rid of that.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, the weather glass, like some of them were really bad. So that I didn't like at all. The port tasks, I think is like, I think we got the worst version of it in the alpha, of course, because I think they're going to get better when you're spending less time off your boat. You know, when it's easier to load stuff up, you know, when you have crew or cranes that are going to help you. I think it's going to be more fun when there's certain routes as well that are like chill. So imagine there's going to be routes that the boat, what's really cool is it automatically moves, right? So there's going to be routes in the future that are going to be like pretty chill routes where you can like kind of set your boat and like essentially go AFK for like 2 minutes while your boat goes in the right direction. Maybe you can like alk while this is happening or do some other skilling. I really like that aspect of port tasks, but in the alpha I found it was like a little slow. Um, the shipwreck salvaging I think is like pretty chill as well. I also I also like that with the salvaging while I was doing port tasks. If I ran by a salvaging area while I was moving, I put my hook inside and I'd collect 2 salvage. I thought that was just kind of interesting, just to get a little bit of extra XP. Now, salvaging is your typical RuneScape gathering, right? Like wood cutting and whatnot. But what I think is interesting about it is you got a cargo hold on your boat. And I really hope that cargo hold can get really, really big. Like hold 100 plus things. Because if there could be salvaging areas that are kind of like deep out at sea, right? That are like pretty rewarding. The idea of going out there and spending like a significant amount of time salvaging as opposed to like wood cutting or whatever right now, when you fill up your inventory, you have to go bank, right?
Yep.
This would be that when you fill up your inventory, you just put it in your salvage. And I do like the idea that this could be a more of an exhibition and more of like you go out and you're going to spend a lot of time actually salvaging and then you're finally going to go back and work through your salvage. So I do like that aspect of it as well. But I do think that maybe some of the salvaging actions got to be a lot quicker as well. I disliked having to empty out all my salvage. So you have to like bring it out onto the dock and then kind of look through it and whatever. I would prefer it be more like automatically done. And maybe it's like when you go to the salvaging area, it's kind of like a Guardians of the Rift or Temporos reward pool, so to speak, where you're just clicking it and you're sorting through your salvage and you're just getting loot popping up in your inventory. I think that would be more desirable than the current system that they're planning on doing. So those are the little things. Nothing there really like blew me away, we'll say. But there are a couple things with sailing that I think have a lot of potential. The movement, to me, has a ton of potential. On land, and it's different to RuneScape too, so it's going to depend on how you feel. But on land, your character moves at a set speed when you're running, right? And your character can also move in like 8 different directions on you, right? When you're on water, you have different variable speed. The way you turn is variable. And you can go 16 directions. So there's 2 times the amount of directions you can go. And then the other thing movement related, which this to me was like mind blowing, right? There doesn't seem to be like a tile system on water, or if there is a tile system, it's like very small tiles. Like they're scaled down to like a quarter the size because you can move your boat in like such minor differences. Like if you put yourself parallel to like a dock, you can get like a little bit closer to it, a little bit further from it, closer than that, further than that. Where it's like on land, it's very clear when I'm on one tile and someone else is on another, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So on water, it's not clear. It's actually really different. Like you are on a very unique spot. There are like way more tiles, so to speak, right? So movement is very different. You have way more directions to go. You have way more tiles you could be on, and you've got way more speed variabilities between the set speed, the trimming speed, the whirlpool speed. So like there's a lot of speed.
I'll interrupt real quick. And there actually is still 16 directions even for your player. It's just a little bit odder because you can move 2 tiles. So if you see yourself as more of a, like a 5x5 kind of thing, there still is technically 16.
That's a good point. True. Yeah. And it's like, but your character's also not running like diagonally 16. It has to like go straight, then rotate, you know?
Yeah. But if you look at your guy, like 5 ahead, like technically, like if you're looking at yourself going north, there's 5 separate ways you can go. You can make like those L movements, you know? So it's like, yeah. But you're right about, and one of the things I'm actually curious on is how much we're going to be using like true tile on the sea, you know? Like how much are we actually going to be min-maxing our sailing? Because right now we're testing this alpha and there's no tile markers on the sea quite yet. There's nothing like, we're not actually seeing where our boat is actually. And I think as soon as that lands, I mean, everybody's going to be rocking with these plugins.
Yeah. So TrueTile is interesting to me. Like, so one thing I'll say, like, I know you want the boats to go a little faster, right?
A
I was
lot
more or less
faster.
okay. Yeah, I was more or less okay with the speed.
Okay.
But sure, let's say they go faster. One thing I was thinking about though is if TrueTile is a thing, which the faster the boats go, the more TrueTile is going to be disorienting.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're going to be even further ahead of where you think you are. So they might be limited in terms of how fast they can do before that experience breaks, right?
No. I don't think it'll progressively move your boat back. I think your boat will maintain a speed, but it's just the faster you're going, it'll always maintain. Like, let's just say you're going 5 tiles per tick. Like, you will just catch up to it every single. It's not like there's going to be like this progressively like going back and back and back and back and back, and your true tile is just going to be like
no, but you are going to
ahead.
but your true tiles, like, so if you're going a set speed, like the current speed, and let's say you're 2 tiles ahead, right? Yeah. But then we made the boats faster. Wouldn't you be 4 tiles ahead all the time?
Yeah. You're right, but it wouldn't. I thought you meant.
Sorry,
like,
I don't mean
progressively get more and more far.
No. Sorry, okay. I just mean the more speed we add, the more tiles away we are. So there's only so fast. Like if we were to go 10 tiles per tick,
then we would be like 10 tiles behind, pretty much.
And then it's just like you're gonna hit a wall, like that's not even near you. That's the thing I'm talking about, where it's like we need to balance speed with true tile.
Totally. But 10 tiles is way too. That's overkill.
No, 100%. It's an exaggeration.
Right. You are right about that.
But I don't know how true tile works, to be honest, because when I was making collisions with things with the boat, it felt like it was making collision when the boat physically touched. Like it didn't feel like I was stopping my movement when I got, like, before I got there. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I think we just don't quite get, I mean, I'm sure some people that really were kind of like analyzing what the boats are really doing. I didn't spend that much time in it, but like some people probably do know how the true tile is working.
You know, it probably isn't a problem depending, because like, let's say the middle of the boat is like the middle of the boat, and then true tile is going to put you like 2 or 3 tiles in front. If the boat is 2 or 3 tiles long, then it wouldn't feel like true tiles. Like the collision of the boat would happen at the front of the boat. Does that like?
Yeah.
So maybe true tile's not an issue. Luckily,
like, I mean, maybe it would be an issue on the other direction, but I don't even think the true tile is going to be in the southwest or whatever it is for like our players normally. Like, I don't know what it would be, because just think about going like crashing on an island the other way. Your boat's now inland, like fucking 5 tiles. That wouldn't make sense.
Yeah. So I'm really not sure exactly how they're going to handle it, but I do, just on my experience, whether I'm going forward, reverse, turning, collision with different areas happen when my boat actually hit, which to me is a potentially good sign that it might not be like traditional true tile experience we see on land. Like they might have done something to the engine work to make true tile more effective, at least visually from our end. But that would obviously we'll need to dig into that further, get some mods to kind of look into that. But yeah, that was, the movement to me is a big part of it. And one thing I'm kind of excited for, so Barracuda trials, right? The Barracuda trial, when I first did it, was like, it was okay, but the more I did it, the more I enjoyed it, because it has there's so much skill expression with it compared to movement on land. So movement on land, whether I'm doing like 4-to-1 Olm or I'm doing Sepulcher, and this is a good thing, but there's kind of like a solved pattern in a lot of ways, right? Like Sepulcher, you kind of know where to click, you know where your character is at all times. 4-to-1 Olm's got this very specific pattern, and you kind of get in the rhythm of it, and that has its value too. But what's interesting is like Sepulcher, the world record time, right? Barring any like crazy developments or some manipulation, it's essentially, theoretically, like there's a static limit, and there's like maybe players can reach that, right? That like world record time because of the tick system, right? Because we're moving, 2 tiles at a time, because we know exactly where we're moving. Now on water, because we have different speed, different turning radius, because there's way more minute movements, like you're not on one tile, like one tile feels like 10 tiles in a lot of ways. The world record time for Barracuda trials is going to be so much more theoretically difficult because there's way more variables, right? Because of the way the boats work, because of the way the tiles or whatever you want to call them on the waterworks, which to me is actually fairly exciting. Like with Prifddinas, you can essentially get the world record time on the Prifddinas trial if you do like the fire making tick manipulation thing or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But even if you don't do that, like I have the exact same personal best every time I do the lap when I get the right portal. It's like 106 or whatever it is. I don't know. That like never happens in Barracuda trials. You can't just end up having this static time you're always getting because of those like every decision you make is so minute and so specific, which I actually really like. I like that there's going to be like this. There might only be one world record holder for a Barracuda trial because of all the potential nuance with the movement and with the tile system on water.
So, and you're claiming that, because I disagree, but I want to hear why you think that. Is it just because of the randomness of the course? You truly think like, no, this is just simply how much like minute detail there is between, because I'm just thinking to myself, like, it still is a tile-based game. So let's just say the course, they're not doing this, but theoretically, if the course was static, where the same waves and the same whirlpools and the same rocks are in their locations, you would just be able to map out the exact tiles and the tick timing. It's not that, but ultimately it still is a tile game, and so you would tie that world record eventually. But with the randomness, that obviously adds something. But I disagree with there only being one world record. I mean, maybe if somebody finds some like weird exploit or something, but
I'm glad you brought that up, the randomness, because I make this point in my video. I say even if the trial was a static trial, there's still going to be more variance because of the way the boat moves.
Really?
100%. This is from my experience doing it too for like 10 hours. Like
But like, think about this. Think about, okay, let's just say Port Kazard. I'm just going to throw his name in there. It's like, let's say he gets the world record. I mean, he did ultimately just click on certain tiles throughout the whole thing, even if it was a static thing. So it's like, it's not completely like a game like Elden Ring where it's playing off of milliseconds I don't even know.
Yeah.
I mean, this is still a tick-based game, and you're clicking on technically tiles. I mean, it's...
Yeah, the ticks are still there, but it's so hard because you're not... Okay, with on land, when you reach a certain tile, you know exactly when you're going to reach it, and then you can click on the next tile, you know exactly when you're going to reach it. On the water, like, if you mistime that because of, like, whatever decision, I don't know, man. It's hard to describe that, like...
I agree with you for like a player that's not going for the world record or a player that's not going to be using plugins and stuff. But I just feel like a month down the line, when people are really sweating Barracuda trials on launch, I mean, you're just going to, and again, this is all theoretical. This is imagining there's not RNG, because with RNG, surely there will be somebody with the world record, because depending on how long the course is or whatever, some guy's just going to get that perfect RNG plus the perfect pathing. And the RNG is going to allow you to, what you're saying, you know, that is where the decisions are going to be way more minute. I'm just saying, theoretically, if this course was exactly static, you would truly just be able to map out exactly where to click on the exact tick you're supposed to click it, and that's it.
So this reminds me of, like, are you familiar with tool-assisted speedruns?
Explain. So
in speedrun games, you can have like a tool-assisted speedrun, or I think they call it like a task, and it'll like let's say you're playing Super Mario, right? It'll like do the run perfectly. Like this is exactly where you need to click, exactly where you need to jump, right? And then players will try to mimic that and do that exact run. But the tool-assisted speedruns are always the best because nobody can be that perfect, right? If you have a game that's super simple, like not RuneScape, like even simpler, right? Where it tells you need to click on this and then you need to click on this and that's your run. A lot of people are going to have the world record. But the more complexity you add, the harder that tool-assisted run becomes to it becomes harder to achieve. So in these games, those runs, they're used for references. Players can get as close as they can to it, but they'll never actually reach the theoretical record. So the point I'm making is that the theoretical record for Barracuda trials, because of the differences, the choices, the timing, the tiles, it's going to be, if you had a tool running it, it's going to be harder to mimic, way harder to mimic than a tool-assisted sepulcher run, for example.
Okay.
That's not to say that maybe you're right. Some down the line, there are going to be people that are that good where there's going to be multiple people who could do this, but it's going to be way more difficult than if they were to do sepulcher because of the like. There's a clip in my video where there's like a buoy beside me, and I was like, or like a couple buoys in a line, and I was like inching closer and closer to it, and the amount of like inching closer to it that I was doing just by like tiny movements, you would not believe. Like if you take one square in the game, it was like I broke that square into 10 different lanes. Like that's how much closer I was getting to the buoy as I made tiny differences. So imagine trying to do that on the trial. Yeah, you can click, but like you might be off by that 1/10 of a tile. And that might throw off your whole run. Or at least not throw off your whole run, but not make all of a sudden you're off the theoretical record because you're off by 1/10 of the tile. Right?
Yeah. No, I'll concede that it's definitely going to be harder than a default just running with your player one by one, kind of clearly seeing where you are. But yeah, I'm the way I'm seeing it is just like it still is technically just a tick based game with a tile map, and technically the tiles technically aren't being divided in like, you know, whatever. They're not technically being split, even if your boat's moving at 1.5 tiles per tick. It's like ultimately, if you click on these certain tiles, your boat will path in that correct direction of what the theoretical, you know, best would be, and eventually you would just tie the record over and over.
Yeah, it's just super weird. Like if you're on a tile, like let's say you're at the crafting bank, you're all on the exact same tile, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if I were to try to line my boat up completely over somebody in the exact same way, I would struggle very difficult. Like it'd be so hard to line myself up completely under their boat, like identically.
Yeah,
if you had 100 people lined up on the exact same area with their boat, there'd probably be like 20, 30 different variations of people on top of each other, where right now on land, there's like essentially one. Or you can argue there's like 4 directions your character could be facing. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's a weird
right
system.
with that point, because I think what, was it Mod Nin that was explaining your boat, because I asked the question, I was like, you know how when players log in, it doesn't actually matter which cardinal direction they're facing. They're on a tile, and the game actually allows that. Like generally when you log in, you're looking like diagonal, I think to like the southwest or something like that. But for other players, they could see you looking the complete opposite direction. It doesn't actually matter. Other players can see you looking at different things. You'll even notice that when you're not quite in the distance of a guy ranging something, and you'll see a dude like way out in the distance ranging something from behind him. So he's like shooting his crossbow, and the crossbow's going through his fucking neck, like to the boss, like way back there. I don't know if you've ever seen that glitch before, but it's just, it doesn't load your players properly sometimes. But with a boat, Mod Nin did say, yes, your boats are actually being rendered at an angle. Whatever the angle is, that's how you're going to see other players' boats' angles. And that really does cause many more, you know, again,
yeah, like, there's a lot. Yeah,
conceding to your point where it's like even if your boat was facing just slightly different and you clicked on the same tiles, you're still going to be way off because your boat just didn't start properly.
So let me push this one further.
Okay.
If let's say you're on your boat and we're facing both exactly north, right?
Yeah.
And I say your goal is to completely overlap my boat and face exactly north, right? If I was doing that like on land, I just click on your tile and I'm done, right? I guarantee you it will take you multiple minutes to get exactly overlapped facing north, because you're going to be maybe 10% too much to the left, 5% too much to the right. Like it's so detailed, Sae Bae. Like it's actually blew my mind how detailed it is. Even when you're in the same, it's not just about the direction. It's literally like, if you ever get the chance to play again, try playing around with that. Like just quickly move your boat one angle to the right, then one angle to the left, and you'll notice your orientation slightly, or not your orientation, but where you are like on your top has slightly changed by like of a millimeter. So yeah, challenge yourself. If there's someone facing the exact same direction to you, try to completely overlap with them or some sort of object in the world. And it's like, it requires a lot of skill, which, just going back to Barracuda Trials, I think that's going to lead. There's going to be people that are really good, and it takes away to some of the charm of RuneScape, where we're so used to the tile system. Like this is very, very different, and it is still a tile system, I'm sure, behind it, but it fundamentally feels different, and it's going to lead to like, it's very fluid feeling, and I'm just very excited to see where the great players are for Barracuda Trials. was busting my ass off trying to get the Marlin time, and I got like a 4:28 time or something like that. And I was like super excited that I was able to do that. And I doubt most players like got to Marlin rank because it did require me to take time. I did have problems with the trials in some ways, like picking up the boxes. Sometimes you like miss them when you don't think you're gonna miss them, and you have to reset the whole run. It felt so bad.
Yeah,
It's not like
I saw
Sepulcher where
that.
if you miss the spot, you're like, oh, no problem. I lose like 2 ticks. You lose like 20 seconds if you miss a box. Like
Yeah,
it's horrible. So I do think they need to address that because that
they
felt bad. I
will
had to reset
surely.
constantly. As I got better, I reset less, but I never solved it because it's so nuanced. Every run felt different. So I did have to reset sometimes when I was, when I missed. So I hope they potentially address, maybe the grab radius or something is better, but even if you hit a wall again, it can sometimes throw off the whole run. Like it's unforgiving, I will say that.
Okay, let's touch on something other than sailing. Stackable clues, which is another flavor of the month, I would say. Stackable clues is something that we don't actually know exactly what Jagex is going to announce as their latest proposal that's going to be dropping in the next week or something. But they initially proposed that it was going to be like up to 5, and they were like very stern on that. I had some people in my chat saying like, why are they acting so like authoritarian with the only 5? And I saw it more as, no, I think they're just doing it to almost give us a sense of like, okay, this won't change, so rest assured, like we're not trying to completely devalue clues or whatnot. But the problem is, I think they're just, and many people agree, I think they're just out of touch with how crazy clues have actually become over this year. I don't know how many juggle tech things you've seen of just how insane clues have actually become. But what are your thoughts on stackable clues? Did you like their original proposal? Do you have a separate proposal of what you would like to see?
I think generally speaking, like I was pretty fine with them having just like, again, this was a case where they like were pitching a poll and you're like, okay. And then they included things where you're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Like with the tokens, for example. But just sticking to the bare bones of like stackable clues, I thought that just having like 5 stackable clues was fine. I thought maybe you could do a little more. I didn't think it needed to be based off unlocks necessarily either. Like maybe you could have it based on how many clues you've done, right? Like maybe that's an okay system. But more or less, I was okay with it. I guess the part that was interesting is that they wanted to remove something that they added, like the 1 tile limit, floor limit. Before it used to be like 2 minutes and your clues would go away, and then they unintentionally added this 1 hour thing. I found it interesting that they wanted to revert that because I do see if somebody wants to go out of their way and juggle 20 clues, like I guess I don't see a problem in that because it's existed for like a year now or so. I think that's fine. But if I'm not a huge like juggler. I'm not going to go to my way juggling. I'll take my 5 clues or my 10 clues stacked and I'll go do them. Right? I just want my Slayer task to be able to like complete the Slayer task and move on. And sometimes 5 is not enough in that case, I guess. But I'm okay with juggling as well. So I found it interesting that they wanted to reduce the juggling. When the juggling first happened, like way back, like a year and a half ago or whatever it was, I thought they were going to get rid of it right away. I was so surprised that stayed because it changed the meta completely. Like that was like an unpulled change that affected clues so much, and now it's like people have gotten used to it, so you can't take it away. If they took it away right away and then we introduced 5 stackable clues, I think people would be over the moon, right? They'd be happy. But we decided to keep this thing for so long, and now it's like all of a sudden it's part of the game, I suppose, and you have to balance around it. I don't know.
It's a challenge because like selfishly, not even really selfishly, like I see this honestly as the game. Like I don't like the juggling tech. I think it's just weird. It was unpulled. It dropped. Don't get me wrong. It's extremely busted, and a lot of people have taken huge advantage of it. I mean, including myself. I'm using it right now. Like I'm on my account, and it's really, really. Ultimately, it's broken. Like people are just, but that's how now people see clue scrolls as like just really broken content. And again, if you're going to really take advantage of a juggling, I'm not claiming the average Timmy that juggles his 2 hard clues from his Hellhound task. I'm talking like the people that are collection logging and hunting Bloodhound, like they are ripping through clues like no other. I'm talking like 4 times the amount of clues you can complete per hour from an unpulled change, which is just ridiculous. And again, it's like, this is what it is, and people really enjoy it. I would probably argue, I could be wrong, but I'd argue that the most enjoyment you're really getting from it is just the sheer fact that you're getting so many more done, and you can avoid all of the annoying steps, which everybody would want. Would you claim that's balanced necessarily? Not really. But it's just a really tough thing to balance as well, because now you have these snowflake accounts that have taken advantage of the year,
right,
where they were able to do a bunch of clues. And now if you patch that, what are they going to feel like? They're just like, now we're completely locked out of being able to do this. So it's a whole thing. Yeah.
We would have never gotten the whole like settled rune crossbow, like episodic thing where he had to get a rune crossbow from a lucky impling. Well, if he could have just juggled a bunch of hard clues.
Yeah.
Rune crossbows drop from hard clues, I believe, right?
No, elites.
Elites. Okay, well, assuming he could juggle a bunch of elite clues from, I don't know, I guess Barrows, he would have been able to get a rune crossbow that way. And that would have changed this whole story. Not that that's whatever, but it's just crazy that we've gone from, like he was a snowflake account and he went through a lucky impling grind to try to get an item that he ultimately lost and now is like actually in the game on the floor. That would have never happened if we could have juggled.
I'm trying to think though, because now I'm wondering, okay, what steps are even in? I don't need to go through the whole thing, but I'm just thinking, like, if he were to have juggled at Barrows, first of all, how many clues would he have juggled? Because as soon as you start solving a step, actually, I guess what he would have done is kept juggling the same. I'm trying to think how many steps there are in Mauritania for elites, because there's not many.
Oh, I don't know. I'm not like a. Let me see.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think to myself, because I know there's one in not Darkmire, Bergdarat, or not Berg. Where the hell? Where's the? Just look up this place. Holy crap! It's not Bergdarat. It's Hallowvale or whatever it is. Mire Ditch. That's it. Mire Ditch.
Ditch. Oh yeah, there is one there. Yeah.
There's one in Mire Ditch. There's one right next to the furnace of Bergdarat. So there's two. Is there one that's... Oh, there's one right on the fairy ring of BIP. Pretty sure that's an elite. And then... Is there any up here that's...
Slayer Tower? Is there a Slayer Tower one? Or is there like
there is.
Where you kill
an Abbey Spectre.
Kill an Abbey Spectre, yeah.
Kill an Abbey Spectre. Okay, so there's like 4.
Wait, it says there's one for killing a Bloodveld too. Could you kill the one in the Slayer Tower?
Yep.
Yeah.
So 5. And is that it? Oh wait, no, there's 6, because there's one over on the like stepping stones way out there to the right north of the farming patch.
Okay.
It's like 6 or something. And then,
I mean,
yeah, that would have been easy. Actually, it would have taken a long time because of how many barrows you'd have to do to get elites. But every time you'd look at the elite step, you would just drop it or just, destroy it if it's not the good step, and then keep finding them. But that would still be brutal. Like how many barrows you'd have to do to just get all the Mauritanian
I mean, how
steps.
many barrows did he do? I feel like he did a lot anyways.
That's a good point.
He essentially didn't use, right? I don't know. That literally has nothing to do with the game. I'm just like being nostalgic and just thinking about how different that would have been.
Fascinated by it, yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't know, man. I'm not a fan of the juggling tech. I like you said, I think a lot of snowflakes, a lot of clue hunters have adopted it. Ultimately, if they like decide to remove it, I think objectively it's probably healthier for the game, but it's weird because there are players who rely on it and enjoy it too.
You're right.
So it's like,
yep.
I don't know what the balance is. I just wish that when it was first added that there was a quick address for it.
I know. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Do you think we should get stackable clues?
Yeah, I think we should, because as much as I would, prefer to if we just go back in time and just revert any form of juggling, because it was a huge devaluement I was a huge clue doer, and that update kind of sucked, but I couldn't really talk about it because not many people really cared about clues getting devalued. But it kind of sucked for me, but I just was like, oh, whatever, the game's changing, game's constantly changing. And then over time you see how crazy that change really was. I mean, again, like people are solving clues like out the ass now. And my
tinfoil hat originally was that this was like them being like, oh, look at this. Oh, I guess we should just add stackable clues now. And it would be like added like, a couple months later.
Yeah, no, I mean, that really was I mean, that could still be true. I mean, the fact that now we are getting stackable clues. But yeah, I was always against stackable clues. This update came out and then I was like, just give us stackable clues because it's just a weird look seeing people with 30 clues on the ground juggling. It's just a very odd thing. It doesn't feel right. It feels like a weird thing that needs to be patched. And I would just like a cleaner system. Yes, it'll break some of the metas that we've developed with juggling, which are just completely out of control, broken. And anybody could argue, I mean, yes, it's going to be, you could argue, oh, it's complexity or whatever. And there is some complexity to it. But ultimately, once you get it all figured out, clues are just they're just so easy if you're willing to camp them and you're willing to do all the juggle tech. And so reverting any of this is obviously going to be a downgrade. But I still think it's a healthy thing to get a system that actually feels more like old school RuneScape and not just some weird glitch where you're just juggling everything over and over and over.
I think it's also like the spirit of clues is supposed to be a diversion distraction.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you're not supposed to be doing them actively like people are doing. So I think that's it goes against the spirit of what the design of it is. And ultimately, the game's been around for a long time. Clues have been around for a long time, and they've existed prior to juggling as is. And maybe we can go back to that. I don't know. Here's a crazy thought.
Okay.
I've literally, again, never thought about this. This is probably so bad. It ruins the high scores. But let's just go through a thought experiment just for fun. If clues are supposed to be a diversion distraction, right? Stackable clues obviously can take a little bit away from it, but maybe they still are because you stack up 5 and then you go diversion and distract yourself, right? How would you feel if clues were like 10 times rarer, 5 times rarer, but then you got like 10 times the loot drop / rolls or 5 times the rolls?
That'd be crazy. Are you saying they're just as rare?
No, they're rare. So like, let's say a boss drops 1 in 50 for an elite clue. We
like
change that to 1 in 250, so it's 5 times rarer.
Okay, yeah.
But when you complete, instead of getting like 5 rolls on the table or whatever it is, you're getting like 25. It's like a giant clue. So you're doing a distraction once in a while, but it's like big.
And the clue still is the same amount of steps. It's not like 5 times the amount of steps, right?
That's like that's one of the balances where clues become easier because like you're completing essentially only maybe there's a few more steps, right? I don't know.
But you're just talking about it really being a distraction and diversion, or they're just rare. They're super rare.
They're rare and they're rewarding. Yeah.
That's kind of what they used to be, but people min-max everything. And so you just find the fastest ways to do things. And but yeah, I think in theory that actually does sound really cool. But it couldn't work because people would just...
There's too many, the high scores would be completely bonked. There's too many downsides to it. I just think it's more just thought experiment in the spirit of what a diversion distraction is. I got a cool thing, and
you're totally right in a way because like nowadays, like when you go do a Hellhound task in the wilderness, like literally I did back-to-back Hellhound tasks and I got 6 hard clues each, and I was expediting it. Like I was like, it was like I only killed like 80 Hellhounds or something.
I saw you live streaming it. Yeah.
And it's just like, this isn't even a distraction diversion anymore because it's like, now I have 6 clues to go do.
You're going to spend more time doing the clues than you did doing the task.
Yeah. And it's just like, you can guarantee you're going to get clues. But again, Hellhounds is probably an egregious example. But yeah, if clues really were just super rare across the board and it was like, ooh, this is like a once a couple day type thing, you're doing a clue. It's like, oh shit, like this is going to be crazy.
I actually, honestly, I wish that solution in some ways could work. I understand that it's like pretty flawed, but like I have a mixed relationship with clues where like I want to do clues and it's nice, but like I also do get frustrated when I have clues stacking up or I feel like I need to go do it because I got one again, right? Like I don't enjoy that aspect of clues. If they were rare and I was just doing them once in a while, then yeah, I probably would every time I get a clue get excited. Where right now, every time you get a clue, you might be excited.
Okay.
You might also be like, another one, fuck.
Think about this. This just came to my head. For the people that don't like doing clues and feel like they're getting interrupted, imagine they came out with this is a placeholder name because it wouldn't quite live up to the actual name, but a Grandmaster clue. And this Grandmaster clue, it's not even a Grandmaster clue. It's just it's like a lucky clue. It's kind of like, the Grandmaster is deceiving because it almost sounds like a more challenging thing. But imagine when you get a clue scroll drop, you can make it vanish. There's like a vanish option, which gives you a chance of getting this lucky clue. But at the same time, you're just vanishing the clue. So if you don't want to do the clue, you don't need to just not pick it up. You just ignore it, but you would actually just pick it up and then click like the vanish option. And that gives a rare chance, maybe a 1 in 100. It would depend on the tier as well. So maybe if you did it to a master, it'd be pretty common. Maybe a 1 in 10 from a master, maybe like 1 in 50 from an elite, or 1 in 20 from an elite or something like that. And then hard's like 1 in 100. Mediums, 1 in 250. Something ridiculous, but if you just don't want to do the clues, you can just do this vanishing thing, and then you get this lucky clue that's going to have like some giga loot. But in order to even do them, you have to sacrifice clues.
Yeah, dude, I think that's actually similar, right? Like, it's actually pretty cool because, well, that doesn't mess with the high scores, which is kind of cool in that sense, right? Where it's like you can keep the existing clue system. But it's like, let's say I'm on my task and I got a clue and I don't want to go do it, or maybe a second clue drops and I'm like, you know what? I don't feel like juggling. I'm going to sacrifice this clue. If you had like a 1 in 25 chance for like a hard clue to become a lucky hard clue, right? And then that clue then gave you like maybe not 25 times the loot.
It couldn't be that, because that would be overly simplifying. But something where
where you're getting like a mega, like maybe it's like 5 times the value, because like there might be times where
not even like 5 times the value, but maybe like 5 times the chance of actually pulling uniques from it in a way.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Well, I think if you go that route, though, I think you have to prevent it from potentially becoming like meta in terms of like.
But it wouldn't be meta. It would never end up being meta, because you would have a better chance if sacrificing 25 hards. Yeah, you might as well just do the 25 hards, especially if it's something like a 5 times thing. Like, yeah, you'd spend more time doing the clues, but ultimately it still would be the way to get the uniques.
That's a pretty good idea. The numbers can be tweaked, obviously, but the essential philosophy behind it is, maybe sometimes you don't want to juggle the 6 clues you got, and you might just chance it on trying to get 1 clue, right? And then that's just going to reward you a little bit more. I don't think that's a bad idea either, right? Like, I could see myself, and what I like about that is I could see myself in some cases where I'm like, no, I'm going to do all 6 clues because I'm in the mood, because it's more efficient, right? But then there's going to be other cases where I'm like just not up for it, and I'm just like, you know what? Let's just see if we can get lucky here. And it makes for some pretty good content too. I think what would be hilarious though is if you get a lucky clue and then you get a step you can't do.
That'd be horrible. Yeah, that would.
You'd have to be like, oh, do I hold on to this lucky clue forever?
Now you're juggling lucky clues. Jesus Christ, that'd be horrible.
That's gonna be like some one chunk. I juggled 50 lucky clues. No, they're cool ideas, honestly, and I think they're both in the spirit of being a true diversion and distraction. And I actually think your idea is pretty clever. It's interesting that we both thought of something off the cuff.
Yeah. No, this is what it is to ramble. We're both professional ramblers, so just think of stuff and share it. Okay, we haven't touched on Delve Boss. We obviously don't know exactly all the details going on, but we touched on the Shadow, we touched on some of the mage equipment that's coming out from there. And the fight, just for those listening, it is a enraged type boss, Delve boss. You're going to go deeper and deeper in, but there's only 8 levels of it. So once you hit the 8th level, you're just going to repeat that indefinitely until you either collect your loot or you die and you lose everything. And it is high risk, high reward. So the more you stay in there, the more your loot's going to grow. And I would imagine it grows at a faster rate that the longer you continue. But it is high risk, as in if you die and you don't claim, you lose everything that you were about to get. So interesting.
Yeah, I actually I thought that I didn't know you could repeat the last wave.
Yep.
Is that true?
That is exactly just how it works. It's so what they decided to do, instead of it just having it just be this indefinite going down and down and down and down, it is literally just you're repeating the same wave, but the environment stays. So if you make mistakes, and it's going to have like the javelin lava type effect where like now there's a permanent tile that's just, you're fucked.
Okay.
That stays through the next wave. So the wave 8, and they also said there's going to be like some randomization. So it's not just the exact same spawns and everything, but you're getting the exact same wave that can be slightly diversified, but it is just that wave 8 on repeat. So as soon as you complete it again, you can be like, okay, I want to claim. But if you're feeling good on supplies, if you're feeling good on everything else, you're like, okay, I'm going to risk this. My environment's looking pretty clean. Let's just keep going. And then it eventually will get to the point where like, okay, if I try to do this again, like, this is going to be hella risky. So I'm just going to claim. And what's cool is this isn't a thing like Coliseum. I brought this up on the Mod Noxcast. With Coliseum, it feels like you should never claim early. Just fucking go for it. Like, just go for it every time. And here, no, you do have to claim at some point. You can't just complete it. At some point you will claim. So there always is that tension of like, I could squeeze one more maybe. I think that's really cool.
Okay, I see. So I have mixed opinions on that type of mechanic and the Delve boss as a whole. When they first pitched the Delve boss, they said that it was just going to be infinite waves, what you said, right? Mm-hmm. And I was not a fan of that because there's only so many like new mechanics you can add before all you're adding is just more damage, more stress on your food, and you're not really adding anything unique, right? We kind of see that to some effect at TOA in some cases, but just in general, I'm not a fan of infinite like waves because it's not creative. What I'd rather have though is if you had like 5 waves, or in this case 8, right? Where it's like every new thing is actually introducing something truly unique, then I'm a huge fan of that. So it's like, imagine wave 1 is like regular Leviathan, right? But like wave 4 is like, or wave 8 or whatever you want to say, is like Awakened Leviathan, right? Where it's like, it adds new mechanics, right? And every single wave will do that. When things are just infinite, eventually the scaling just becomes broken.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm happy that they're making it 8 when they changed that philosophy of being like, okay, it's going to be 8. Because then I'm like, okay, every wave might have its own unique aspect it's adding, which is really cool. I did not know that you could infinitely do it though. And that to me is like, I don't know. I kind of almost like it when it's being done and then you just collect, as opposed to constantly pushing. But I guess no, they're not adding additional stats or anything, right? The only limitation is just going to be like how much food you have left.
Yeah, it's your supplies and the environment. So any little mistake you make is going to cause detriments further down the line.
Oh, okay, got it. Yeah. So the more perfect you do it, the more clean the area is going to be. It's almost like the javelins from Coliseum.
Exactly. Yep. So you want to, as long as you're playing really perfect, and again, this is not a complete, static fight where everything spawns the same and you just know exactly where to stand. It's like, no, things are going to randomize. It's still going to be the same wave, but imagine Inferno, things spawn differently and things can get way more complex. And then you're dealing with supplies and you're like, oh shit, okay, let's just not risk this loot. And then you're going to see your loot, I imagine. You're like, I really don't want to risk this. But
yeah, so I think that's like, okay, that's probably a more satisfying way to do like an infinite wave thing where it's like you're not making the boss deal more damage or adding more defense or whatever. It's just like if you've kept the environment good, just keep going, but like nothing is really changing in the fight other than things you might have made more difficult for yourself.
Yeah, but it is kind of changing because like, again, like with spawns, some spawns can be so difficult and it's like, oh fuck, I got the worst spawn, like everything spawned in the middle right here and I'm kind of trapped out of this area because I had some lava spawn over here, so now I got to make some weird maneuver.
Okay, so you think there's going to be randomness to it then too?
Yeah, it's not going to be fully, I mean, it is the same wave essentially, but again, like Inferno, the same wave is not the same wave. It can spawn in different variations and you can just have some really shitty thing. And imagine even this, like, let's say there's nibblers, that are eating at your pillars and there's genuinely no way to freeze them. So now it really is, okay, pillars are genuinely dying and there's no way to destroy this. It's like literally I have to solve this wave as fast as fucking possible. And I can't just be waiting behind this pillar indefinitely. And that might cause issues in the future. So like, everything is just going to be so hectic. I think by the time you've repeated it several times, it's going to be like, okay, this is getting very hard.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it going to be like sort of wave based or is it going to be more boss based? Like it's kind of in the middle.
That's a good question. I mean, I think it will be wave based, but I think it'll just be, Yeah, I don't. I
Mostly
think
focus
it'll.
on the boss mechanics, I suppose, rather than like additional spawns.
Yeah, I don't know. I almost see. I'm seeing it like maybe Coliseum ish of like maybe every wave. Maybe it's not going to be like fight caves or anything where like it's like okay, now there's one monster, now there's two monsters, now there's one monster, two monsters. It's like it's not going to just scale up like a ladder. I think every wave will be quite distinct, and I what I would hope is that there are 8 unique monsters. So like in the first one, you're just going to have to be fighting just a couple of them, and then every wave is introducing a new kind of monster or something, and then by 8
Well,
you have
every
them all.
wave you're fighting the boss, but then he just like retreats lower.
Is that how it is? It's a boss? Because
Yeah.
I thought this was like, you are right. You are right. It's it is a it is, yeah, you're right. I was thinking just based on like the actual spawns themselves, because I was thinking there's going to be probably like 8 different unique monsters that start spawning alongside. But yeah, you are right. Like I have no idea how the fight's actually going to go
Yeah.
clearly, but
Okay.
I'm certain there will be different spawns every single time. We'll have a new monster with some new ability. I'm almost positive of that. But you're right.
Okay, interesting.
You
Yeah,
are fighting a boss.
I didn't expect new. I maybe expected like a couple different monsters, but more or less I expected each level to be the actual boss doing like different things,
You
whether it's
could
attacking faster, different mechanics, stuff like that.
you could be right on that. I guess in my
Okay.
head, and again, like we have no idea. So you could be right. Maybe I'm completely off base here. I guess in my head, I'm just thinking like this is going to be some sort of wave based thing where there are enemies coming out with the boss or something like God War style, where there's a bunch of minions.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
Who
Oh
knows
wow. Well, I'll
though?
have to
Who
see
knows?
exactly what it is, but the yeah, the philosophy's sort of the same. I kind of do like it when things end because I don't know if I'll ever be satisfied knowing that like either I'm gonna reach my PB and because I'm the type of player where like kind of when I achieve something, um, I'm not looking to go back in and try to like re-achieve it or continue to do it. Like I can do the Inferno, but like I don't do the Inferno because it's like takes too long, right? Like I got my cape, I'm
Yeah.
good, right? With stuff like this, it's like let's say I get to like wave 8 and then I continue it a few more times. I set my sort of PB. Am I gonna feel bad quitting early because I just want the experience to be more chill? And we talked about that earlier in the cast. I think things should be challenging, but you should eventually enter a flow state. Like I don't want to be constantly stressed out trying to push this boss further. Eventually, I want to reach the point where I can do this boss and kind of wrap up. But I don't know. Maybe there'll be a point where reaching,
Yeah.
like maybe it'll be sort of more profitable to kind of do the original 8 waves and move on versus risking going further. I mean, I guess it can't. I guess
think
it
yeah,
needs to be.
I
It's
think
hard.
I
Yeah.
think they will make it. And you are right. I mean, there's a part of the community that wants stuff to be very difficult, but vast majority of people want something where eventually you can turn your brain off. And I think that's Yama uncontracted. So with the contracts, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. But I think just the basic default Yama is what they're really going for. Where this can be something really chill once you learn it. Delve Boss, though, I don't think they're following that philosophy. I think this is going to be like a fucking bitch at the end. Like you're never gonna know what it's gonna be. Constantly stressful because you don't even know if you should collect or not. And I
Oh
think that's
God.
what they're going for.
They're trying to kill their audience by the time we reach 50 years old by stressing us out.
Oh yeah, this is gonna. I'm pretty sure Delve Boss is gonna be stressful.
Damn. Okay. Yeah. I thought it was going to end at 8, and I was totally happy with that. This increase thing, I mean, maybe it's a good thing. I think what you were saying about the environment might make it feel okay, but I can't see myself being like super crazy about it.
Me neither. I'm not one of those people that's like noob type sending
Yeah.
27 Leviathans in an inventory.
Honestly, and one of the biggest like limiting factors for me as a player is just honestly like I'm a pretty decent PVMer and whatnot. Like I do everything,
Mm-hmm.
but the thing that will always limit me will be time. I don't want to have to spend like 4 hours to do this boss, right?
Yeah.
I just want to be able to like send a half an hour session, feel good, and move on, right? That's why I could do the Coliseum multiple times versus the Inferno. So yeah, we're gonna see videos on YouTube of like noob type having like a 6-hour log
Yep.
session at this boss. Like it's gonna
Totally.
happen. Which is obviously going to be cool to see. But yeah, I'm definitely not that type of player.
Me neither, dude. Me neither. I like the sense of just like, okay, I did my wave 8. I got my little cape or whatever. I got my little thing. Like we're good. And then I'll send it, but I'll try to keep it as casual as I can with trying to be kind of efficient. That's how I did with Toa. Like I was not sending 500s when I was trying to Toa.
Yeah.
I was just sending like my 395s
or something. Yeah.
Chill out. Yeah.
That's true. Kind of the middle ground. That's a good point. I'll probably end up like that too, where it's a balance of Toe is kind of interesting too, right? Because like you want to get to 400 and then there's diminishing returns, right?
Yeah.
So like 400 feels good because you could push for more, but only players who really think it's worth it would go that far.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's good. I haven't done Toe in a long time though because I green logged it.
Yeah.
What do you think of the rewards for? There's a couple rewards I want to talk about. With this boss.
Let me pull it up just so I'm in the.
So obviously the easy one to talk about first is the boots, right?
Yeah.
Your tri-bid boots, and this is to prevent like 9-way switches. I feel pretty good about the boots, but there is one thing that I'm curious of your thoughts on. I got this from a RS3 player, and I talked to No Monkey about this too. And basically, in order to keep 8-way switches, we're going to have to keep this format where we have like tri-bid brutes, for example, right? Eventually, though, is Jagex going to say, hey, it would be nice if we made like a special melee boot, right?
I know.
And then a special magic boot, right? We saw with Barrow's Gloves is kind of the original, right? It's like we had tri-bid Barrow's Gloves, but then they broke it up into 3 gloves.
Yep.
So in the future, are they going to try to break the boots up into 3 different boots? And then as a result, you probably need to introduce a tri-bid in another slot. And you got to constantly do this like evolution of like potentially rotating where the tri-bid slot is. Like, do we go back to like a crazy tri-bid glove, which would be insane, obviously. But, what's the solution there, right? Yeah. Or do we just say, you know what, the boots are the tri-bid slot for the rest of the time, and every upgrade is just going to be an upgrade of basically the Avernic treads?
Yeah, it's we're gonna see what they go with. This is exactly the reason why I didn't want the Avernic treads to have any additional stats to it, because it was already a powerful upgrade. Just the fact that you're combining all the boots, like that is the power of it. Like the power is you're combining 3 boots and you don't need to do any more switches. And then they just went to fucking town because everyone in the community wants like insane power creep, and now it's just these crazy boots once you've shoved all the Serb boots into it. I mean, these are insane. And now we're at the point where it's like, yeah, like because if they went down the simple route where it just has all the same stats, and I actually do like the fact that they added, I like their original pitch where it was like 1 range strength, and I also like the idea that like the pegs, like normal pegs, would also get 1 range strength. I think that was cool. Then just have these combo boots going on that don't have any additional stats over the Serb boots. And then in the future, you can start going down that route again of like, okay, here's the new boots again, and the new boots here, and the new boots here, and then we're going to combine those as well, and they're just combined with not additional stats. Again, it's kind of the same thing ultimately, but it's slowing down that pace, because now, like you said, in the next 3-4 years or something, be like, oh, we want these new melee boots, and I'm like, oh god, because now
round and round we go.
Now we're in this pickle, where it's just weird.
Yeah, so if you're Jagex, you're thinking 4 or 5 years from now, you're going to release new boots. That's what you're doing.
Yeah, and who knows? Honestly, I mean, think about this. Serb dropped all 3 styles of the boots. That's kind of interesting to think about. It wasn't just the new melee boots. It was literally all 3 styles of the new best in slot boots. So maybe in the future, they'll just come out with a boss that is genuinely just a new tri-bid boot type thing. And you got to get all 3 crystals or whatever, all 3 things, combine them, and now they're just going to go down that. Because I would be okay with boots until the end of time. The best in slot stuff can all just be kind of combined. I wouldn't be against that personally.
Okay, but during that point where the boots become separate again, you're gonna enter 9-way escape.
But they don't even need to hit that point, is what I'm saying. Like the next boot upgrade could just be a like Serb 2.0 that drops 3 different crystals that you combine into the new best in slot boots.
Oh, okay,
that
yeah.
have
So just
nothing
keeping Tribrid, yeah.
that don't even have anything to do with the Vernic treads, maybe. Like who well, then that would be a problem of its own. We're gonna get
That's
to the
yeah.
point in this game, by the way, where like everything is an attachment to an attachment to an attachment to an attachment. It's like Jesus Christ.
100%. And
It's bad.
unfortunately, I think that's one of the better solutions. Personally,
I
like
know. That's the sad
yeah.
part. It's like it makes sense because of progression, but holy hell, the amount of if you're coming in as a new player and just seeing how many attachments it's like, dude, this game is convoluted as hell. It will be so convoluted in 10 years.
You know what? I don't even know if it's like max convoluted. Like it will be. I know I heard this from one of your casts way back in the day, but apparently Terraria to make like the best weapon requires like 100 weapons or something like that. And it's like we're not that close. Yeah, yeah. Like they like
I thought Terraria
everything
was the simple thing where like the best in slot sword is only like plus 16 or something versus like the default. It just slow. It's like there is this. Well, you might be right about these constant upgrades, but one of the things I liked about I think it was Terraria was the fact that there is a best in slot weapon and it's just barely better than like everything else. It's just barely, and I love that element of power creep where it's like you could still be using these other weapons and not feel like you're just being outclassed drastically by these giga swords.
Yeah, I think, God, I wish I could remember, but yeah, I Googled it once and I'm pretty sure. Okay, I'm looking at an image right now of someone making like a crafting tree for Terraria. I'll just send you the image.
Yeah,
Obviously, your
send
viewers
it.
won't see
Pull
it,
up
right?
here.
But like, look at
Jesus Christ, yeah.
that. Like, you have your classes of like your mega rares, but like it seems like everything is from another component. And I guess Terraria, like they love it. So with RuneScape, I do think it's one of the better solutions. Because honestly, I don't know, the alternative that you have to think about horizontal progression a ton, which they do, and I don't know, you don't want to make like what you don't want to make old content useless. So your case with the boots, if there was another Tribrid boot in the future, you'd have no reason to ever go back to this boss again unless they were somehow tied together. Maybe it doesn't always have to be. I don't know. I don't know how you go about it, but I do think it's
complicated.
I'm almost willing to just like put the argument to bed and just be like, this is what we're doing from now on, right?
Yeah.
In most cases, like outside of like for best in slot, basically.
Yep.
Right. Like when we release new mage gear in the future, like the body, the top, the hat, like what are we gonna do with ancestral?
Yep.
Like I'm very certain they're gonna find a way to tie ancestral into it. Like they're not just gonna be like, nope, we're no longer gonna need ancestral ever again.
I mean, and I think they can go about it in simple ways. I mean, just think about a new piece of content that drops a, let's just say we're going to get new magic robes or even these boots. I mean, it could literally just be a boss that comes out 4 years from now. We're going to get a new boot upgrade, and it's just one item. It's this demonic aura, and you get it. I don't know. It doesn't need to be demonic, but it's just like some little magical aura thing, and then you just use it on your boots, and now it has the upgraded boots, and it's still the Tribrid, and it would be similar to, and that's just a very simplistic thing. It's like, hey, you just gotta get this upgrade to it, and you just attach it to it. And then with Ancestral, what they could do is they could just add this new cloth, and this cloth is just a default cloth. You get it as a super rare drop, and you attach it to your Ancestral, and it gives it a little bit of an extra boost, and it looks pretty similar, but it has some nice little trim to it. Like that would be a cool enough upgrade to me. And it's simple. It's just one item that comes out and you use it on the ancestral you already have. I think that would be great.
Yeah, and that's probably the path that we're going to go down, either like adding something to an existing thing or just combining. I think in some cases it'd be interesting to potentially have other uses for these things. So you can combine it to make the better boots, but then you can also like do something else with it instead if you don't need to combine for the boots. That way there's still value to it. In some cases, because like there's always a chance where if the boots are coming into the game way more than the cloth, then if the cloth is coming into the game more than the boots, we'll say, then the cloth goes down in value, right?
But if some issues.
Yeah, but if the cloth had a use other than strictly combining, or if the demonic whatever can turn into X amount of runes, or I don't know. But if there was like one other use case you can use with it so that there was always some value in another way, that would be nice as well. Just to keep value high, because the last thing we want is obviously the purgation crystal shenanigans. That's like the hardest part of Upgradescape, is trying to work around one item being more abundant than the other. But
Yeah.
yeah, Upgradescape is kind of big. I with the shadow conversation earlier, a lot of people will always talk about like, oh, let's just make offhand better. And I agree, like offhand is a way to like limit the shadow. But like offhand is one slot for starters, and offhand is currently built around the ward, which is a raid drop and a corp drop. So you're either going to create a new offhand and make those completely invalidated, or you're going to have to upgrade again. So you got like a raid thing that takes 100 hours, you got a corp thing that takes several hundred hours, and now what? This new thing, it has to take, if it doesn't take similar time, it's going to crash in value. If it does take similar time, having to spend like 600 hours to get the best in slot mage hand, offhand, it's just crazy.
So bad, I know.
Right?
That's why I think, well, personally, I think they're probably going to make some changes to Corp pretty soon. That's my personal. Do I agree with it? No, but I mean, I'm agnostic, I guess technically. I think Corp actually could use some love, but at the same time, it is a kind of nostalgic sort of grind for Ironman that's already been crazily just changed over the years. You look at how Curtis used to grind it a decade ago compared to now, but I can see Corp becoming way more streamlined, like way more standardized for like how we, enjoy content these days and how people want like mechanics and things. I could see it having like the Wildy Boss treatment. And then at that point, the shields wouldn't be as rare, I would assume. And then it wouldn't be as quite of a crazy thing to go for, but who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, who knows? But I think both of us sort of agree that like that's probably the most likely path, even though it's not perfect. I don't think anything's perfect, right?
Yeah.
But that's just the nature of the game. The fact that Terraria can be like thriving with that tree that I showed you tells me that like, okay, maybe we're not that bad, right? Maybe there's enough time in between grinds for players to like level up their knowledge, understand what they need to get next, right? I don't know. We'll have to see, but I'm more or less happy with what's coming in from this boss. I do like having a tribid boot for the switches. I am okay with that being like the permanent slot. If you split up into 3 boots in the future, then that becomes issues. I don't know what other slot you go to. Like legs, that'd be so weird. But that's probably the best one, legs, because it's not super super strong. But yeah, we'll have to see what they do there. The staff I'm excited for too because it's 3 tick.
Yes.
Is it supposed to be in between Shadow and Sang, or is it lower than Sang but faster? Do you know?
It says, I think it's supposed to be in between because it's saying here like this one-handed magic weapon will speed up your grinds towards Tumeken Shadow and give you power and utility beyond it. I think it's probably
it says here too damage somewhere between Sang Staff and Tumeken Shadow. That's so good.
It's gonna be.
I'm so surprised. Because Sang Staff just becomes like kind of like really useless.
Yeah,
obviously has the healing effect.
Rapier became instantly useless basically as soon as they dropped the Dragon Hunter Lance. Sang took a while for it to become useless, but I mean, people just. I think that's flawed. I don't think anything should be just completely end up being useless, but we tend to see that a lot. I mean, look at Nightmare stuff. It's like Nightmare. Yeah, all that stuff's pretty useless.
I would have been okay with this being around the same level as a Sang Staff, but just it being 3 tick would have its own potential use. But
I like that it's slightly better. Just because it's technically more difficult to use. Having an odd tick plus it's faster, which means it's easier to lose ticks, means
that's true.
In some places, the Sang would actually be the preferable weapon.
That's a good point. And it heals. It still heals you. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, like this is going to be hard to use at Ulm. Like I don't know what method there's going to be with 3 ticks, but yeah, missing a tick could remove a lot of damage there. So yeah, I guess it's a good place to sit. I wish the Sang was maybe a little bit more consistent with healing, but I doubt that they'll ever change the Sang again. Just TOB is kind of interesting that like there's basically only 2 rewards left. But yeah, no, I'm excited for the staff, mostly for the Nyla room, but I'm trying to think of where I would potentially use it over Shadow. Like where would speed value more than power?
And I think I think you also have to look at it as a stepping stone as well, as they say. It's like
true.
People without the Shadow, this is going to be huge. It's going to be great to have pre-Shadow, but you are right. For the people that do have the Shadow, this is just going to be a place where...
This might have a few uses potentially at Zulrah, like in between Shadow hits.
That's true. That is true.
That'll be interesting.
It is cool
But
having that speed diversity because it does allow in some situations where you would lose a lot of DPS due to just transitions or whatever to really just squeeze in extra.
yeah.
What about the Confliction Gauntlets?
Okay, so what's the latest passive on these things? Because they changed them like 6 times.
Yeah, let's see.
When it's equipped. Oh no, that's the old one.
So, yeah, let me make sure this is all good. I'm pretty sure this is the updated version where they're saying it's going to be 4. So let me just read this. Our Band-Aid fix for the Confliction Gauntlets was a tad divisive. In the short term, we're not going to be able to avoid a Band-Aid fix,
I remember what it is.
But we do this in the knowledge that said Band-Aids can be pulled off whenever changes to the Tumeken Shadow are implemented. Some players pointed out that the Restriction Gauntlet's effect to attack within the next 4 ticks meant the standard spells or ancient magics wouldn't be able to benefit from them. That wasn't an oversight. We had some concerns around use cases like freezes in PvP, blood spells, where it's typically too inaccurate to be using. And so we're not dead set on any of these being overly problematic, so we'll be adjusting the Confliction Gauntlet's passive effect to remove the 4-tick restriction and instead benefit one-handed weapons only.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, I was okay with the 4-tick thing because I didn't want barrages to be super strong, but I guess barrages are going to be like really good in PvP now. Even better, right? Because you're going to be able to use a one-handed weapon in barrage and have like another roll. Yeah, I mean, this is like, ideally this is temporary, right? So they would change the shadow, remove this passive, give it like maybe 10% mage bonus to compensate, and then call it a day. Is that what you think they're going to do?
Are you saying that when they change the shadow, you're saying?
Yeah, because they said that they're willing to remove these band-aids.
Yeah,
right?
It's who knows? I mean, I don't really think they need to go 10 route. I mean, people, and this is my own personal opinion, because people do want, like, it's so weird because people want the shadow to be changed but not nerfed. And in my opinion, I'm like, just fucking nerf it a little bit. Who cares? Like, it's so powerful. Like, it's okay if it gets a little bit of a nerf. And then these gauntlets don't need to go overkill. I think the 7% is already fine, even if the shadow gets slightly toned back. Because ultimately, if they nerf a shadow right now, with all these new things coming out, the shadow will still be in a better spot than it currently is today with all the magic stuff. Like, that's how I would ideally like to see it. Nerf the shadow a little bit, whatever that is seen as. But after the Delve boss rewards all come out, technically the shadow will be slightly better than it is right now today because of all the new mage stuff we have.
Yeah. So you think that they could just, when they rework the shadow or whatever they do, remove this passive and people would be okay with losing like that extra accuracy that they had for a period of time?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think people would be okay with it. I think it's just healthy, personally.
Yeah.
But,
okay.
Yeah, it's a tough thing because who are you supposed to listen to? You're just supposed to listen to the people that just want like nothing to change.
We're gonna get another
power
clue juggling situation where we add something for a period of time, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, I want this now forever. Right?
It's so, I do not envy the J mods at all. It's such a train wreck at this point. The game's so convoluted too. Everybody wants something different. Yeah.
I mean, I'm okay with the gloves, obviously, like as is. I don't know. I'll just use them mostly as just the new best in slot gloves, just for my shadow. I don't know where I'd use it. I guess elemental weaknesses. It would make him potentially a lot better in some cases. And with the summer sweep up, that could end up potentially being pretty competitive with shadow in some cases. Like, if these gloves are giving you the extra roll of accuracy, plus there's more elemental weakness, like there's a chance that shadow might actually lose some use cases. So, and that could be good until they potentially remove this passive down the line. But we'll have to see what their plans are for Magic. I'm not sure.
I want to actually touch on the summer sweep up a little bit more. What your thoughts are on like drop tables and stuff.
Yeah, for drop tables, I mean, I'm a bigger fan of drop tables that are like unique focused. You make a little bit of money along the way, but like most of it's tied to the unique. I think I like God Wars Dungeon, for example, is probably a good balance. I'm not a fan of when they go too far into this, like what they did with Nightmare, where it's like Nightmare, you make like no money from drops, like regular drops, but then it also takes you like hundreds of hours to get a drop.
Yeah, that's the problem, because the drop table of Nightmare was, if you're just looking at the actual like shitty drops, that was perfect, but then you also made uniques fucking insanely rare. I think on release, people were calculating it was like 6,000 hours to green log Nightmare.
That's wow.
Yeah, it's just, okay. It's like you guys are psychopaths with this. So tone it back. The drop table could have been cool. Yeah, get some shitty bass, get like 5 3-dose sand fuse here and there, and get all this other junk. But as long as you made the drop rates very reasonable and valuing your players' time, that would have been perfect. Because Bandos or God Wars across the board values your time. You're not there for
it's perfect.
300 hours.
Yeah, and Desert Treasure 2 is similar, where it's got some decent drops, but it's not like as crazy as like, at least money wise, as some other drops like Vorkath or something. Most of it's tied to the uniques, right? Which I'm a fan of, and you balance how long it takes. If the uniques take, I guess if the uniques take a long time, you could justify having better drop tables. But again, I don't want drop tables that have a ton of resources in them. So if everything was God Wars Dungeon with like a little bit of maybe 1 or 2 flavor drops in between that are like nice to get, then I'm good. I think that's perfect.
Yeah.
I think I also wouldn't mind if drop tables focused in some cases, if they're going to drop resources, to have them be typically raw resources.
Yep, that's one that one thing you mentioned in your skilling video as well.
Yeah, it's not perfect. Like I think in some cases it makes sense to get bars from like Grotesque Guardians or like obviously Volcano, right? Because it makes sense in theme, right? But generally speaking, I would say like you should be giving seeds more than you give herbs. Like Chambers gives a ton of herbs, for example. It's nice to get, don't get me wrong. Or when you go to Wilderness, you get 100 Raynars from whatever Wilderness boss. It feels good, but I think skilling wise, it would be healthier if it was more often it was seeds. But yeah, but then you got to balance the seeds out. I think when they do seed drops, they're too much. Like TOA giving you like 10 Toad Flax, it should just given you like 3 or 4. Like that would have been fine.
10?
I don't know.
That thing gave like fucking 30 snaps.
Actually, yeah, it might give more. It might give more. So
that.
that's one thought I have. But it's not absolutely neat. I think in some cases you could break it down. But
yeah.
But the big problem there is it makes gathering skill. It kind of solves for processing skills in some ways, but it makes gathering skills even worse. So that's where I think stuff like the worms and stuff makes sense. But yeah, generally speaking, I like uniques. I like it when bosses have so Chargescape, right? There's been some really good examples of Chargescape. I think what they're gonna do with this staff here from the Delve boss, where you get like the tiers, it's gonna sound relatively easy to charge up using the tiers. Like it's not gonna take you that much time. I think generally speaking, I want to spend a couple hours or so, or a day or so, at a boss, but then have enough resource on that boss to last me like a month plus, 2 months, 3 months, whatever the case is. So I would hope that tables would focus on maybe the profitability being around those types of resources rather than raw resources. And I just like having a reason uniquely to go to a certain boss. I like, even though Zulrah I think should give more scales, I do like going to Zulrah to get scales. I mostly think that because I barely get uniques at Zulrah. So I'm relying purely on the scales. But yeah, that's my overall thoughts on, I think, drop tables as a whole. Was there anything that you've been thinking about when it comes to drop tables?
And you've probably heard it. I mean, we already mentioned Fasani's Nightmare. I still am holding on to this view, and I'll literally hold on to it until the end of time. Is just, I'm sorry, you need to buff it further. You need to make all those drops way more common. Even the change, they already made like basically a 30% change just making Fasani's, like the faster kills plus the increased uniques. Was already a huge upgrade, and then it became it was like a 1 in 167. Now it's a 1 in 115 for something, and I'm still thinking, bro, make it a 1 in 42. Like make it like a Nex,
yeah.
Style. Like why is it so rare? This stuff isn't even good these days. Like holy crap, we're getting Oath Plate soon, and we got this fucking shitty Inquisitors that's poopy, and just nobody wants to use it. And we're getting a horn anyway, so Inquisitors isn't even going to be useful for specking anyway. Like, just send it. Rip the fucking Band-Aid off already. Like, we just want to have a place that's fun to grind and you're pulling uniques. But it's so sad that we keep continuing. Who knows how many more years until we finally get our head screwed on straight, where we're just like, hey, just fix Fasani's Nightmare. If this is stupid, like, just make the rates reasonable. This is such a kick in the balls to everybody's like time, really, just to their time. Like, the Jagex is not valuing your time at all with these drop rates. They're insane.
Yeah.
Like, I know this is not technically comparable, but when you look at Royal Titans, that was phenomenal in valuing your player's time. It's just, you know, you're going to get stuff. Like, it feels good. Like, you don't have to sit here for 7,000 years. And again, it's not Best in Slot stuff, so it's not quite relatable, but that is a perfect example of a boss that's truly valuing your time. Like, we're not going to let you suffer here forever.
And again, it has like the thing I love about resources. It has the pages. So now that I've completed the log, I can still go back there and enjoy it when I want to stack up on pages. Which,
totally.
Yeah. No, I agree. Like, obviously, I think most people agree Nightmare's kind of crazy.
I mean, and even think of like the pet. Like, when there's uniques that are rarer than the pet, you have a huge issue.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Like, you have a massive problem on your hand when you're gonna get 5 pets on the way to grain logging this place.
5 pets, dude. I want like an Eldritch Orb, for instance, right? Just to have it for utility. I want the Harm Orb. I literally have like 5 Fasani's Nightmare KC because I'm like and it's not because of the boss. It's literally because I'm like, well, I don't want to spend 300 hours getting that.
And the boss is fun. They're doing it a disservice. The boss is genuinely fun, but you know you're not going to get anything. It's not worth your time. It's so sad. It's so sad to watch this beautiful piece of content just completely tainted by how absurd the drops are. The drop rates are.
They even made the tablet. They even made the tablet 1 in 100, which is just funny to think
ridiculous.
about. Yeah. It's like there's drops that are 1 in 100 that are like 1 in like 43. You're getting a next drop. Obviously, it's not, you know, if you say a trio, it's like 1 in 150, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like you got 1 in 150 for a next drop, or 1 in 100 to be able to teleport. Like, it's a funny comparison. Yeah,
it's crazy. So, and then the other thing I was going to mention is just Chambers rates. Chambers is kind of a mess because of like scaled raids and people boosting and stuff, and then people doing like 1+12s. I think is. What are they? I don't know. There's a lot of different variety of how you can
3+12s.
3+12s.
Yeah, and that's a big one.
You can get some crazy drops per hour by kind of like using these simple or just different like scaling methods. But I just am like, man, I wish they could just really go in there. First of all, like, this is my take, is just double the drop rates across the board. Like, literally make it so we're seeing double the purples. And then in CMs, drastically reduce the chance of getting paper, and maybe even just remove it entirely. Like, similar to hard mode Tob, where a Vernix are way less common. Mm-hmm. Do it with CMs where the Dex and Augury are just not as common, and then or just not even existent in it, and so you kind of like slightly boost that rate as well, and then make something help out like the soloing of stuff. I feel like just the fact that you can get so many more purples an hour doing these weird ass scales, it just feels odd. I wish it was a little bit more streamlined, but I'm just not really in that. I'm not quite in the position to talk about it because I don't know all the different variations of it, but I'm just like, dude, you gotta pump up the purples there. The purples are so rare. They're so rare if you're just doing generic solos or something.
I do like that they added like the ability to scale without alts and stuff like that. That was really good. I do want to eventually do like more 3+12s potentially, but again, I'm doing that because if I had a choice, I just want to send solos, man. They're chill for me. I'm at 1,100 chambers, and most of those are solo, and I don't have a TiVo. So I've spent about 500 hours there, and I have no idea if I'm gonna have to spend another 500 hours there or not.
Yep, or another 1,000. That's very like that could be a thing. Like that's not even out of the question. That's how disturbing those drop rates are.
I don't have a TiVo yet, which is like sad, and it might end up being my last item. I've got Din's Bulwark and Dragon Claws. They're the only other two.
You don't even have claws yet? Oh God.
I don't have claws. No, I got 3 Code Eyes. I got Elder.
Oh.
It felt bad. Elder felt okay because it was like
it actually got buffed.
It got buffed after, and I kind of knew a buff was coming.
3 Code Eyes though. Oh God.
3 Code Eyes is kind of miserable. Yeah, I wish I could turn in like. Well, obviously I can't. That would crash. But I don't know. Tebow is the most elusive item I've had to go for, and 1100 raids is like a lot, but again, I could just go another 1,000.
God.
Like, who knows?
I know. That's so miserable, man. Like, that is exactly why they need to buff the purples. It's just that kind of stupid stuff where people will spend genuinely years grinding this game without an item. Like, come on, dude.
Yeah, like that's not really valuing my time at all. And I don't mind the skills, but like 1+1s and stuff, I don't really like to use my Blood Furies too much, right? So I don't push like 1+, whatever's as much. But most of what changes is he just deals more damage. So sometimes I just won't even bother with scaling. I rather just send like a 24, 23 minute solo and just have it be like super comfy, super rhythmic, rather than scaling, which doesn't make it more difficult. It just makes everything deal more damage. But I'm at odds because it can help with the purple rate. But the cost of it is a lot of the fun, in my opinion.
You're right.
But I do like before I sometimes my friends would want to do trios and I'd like do it because I'm like a friend, but I was like, man, if I was doing a solo, this would be way better. At least now when we do trios, we'll do like a 3+4 or something. So it's like pretty much as efficient as a solo would have been. So I do like that they did that, but I don't know if they'll ever touch it. You think that's what they're going to look at this summer? I haven't even heard any peeps that they would look into that.
I doubt it. I doubt for summer sweep up they're going to touch chambers. I mean, maybe drop rates alone, but I don't think they would mess with any of like the scaling stuff. Like, who knows?
Yeah.
I really also like touch on it, but
I don't know what details they've released regarding what they're going to do in the summer sweep up. We know like obviously elemental weakness and drop rates, but like we heard about it, and I feel like the longer it takes to get to summer, the more we're going to try to come up with these like things we want to see. And then we're going to be disappointed with the reality, right? If they just like,
down.
Yeah, if in the summer they were like, hey, and they pitched it like, hey, we're going to be changing this drop rate, we're going to be adding a few elemental weaknesses, we'd be like, okay, great. But like we know like 6 months ahead of time, and we're like stewing. We're being like, oh man, maybe they'll do this, maybe they'll do this, and then they're going to send us a poll, and they're being like, you're going to be able to get better rare drop table now, and we're going to be like, what? we're gonna totally underwhelmed with the update. I hope I'm wrong, but we'll see.
I think they're gonna go to town on it. I mean, the fact that they hyped it up on RuneFest means that they're probably gonna go crazy with it. So
yeah, we'll have to see.
Yeah. Well, let me ask: is there anything else you want to touch on before we kind of wrap things up?
Oh, really quickly, because it's flavor, and you'll get at least one person talking about it. Have you looked at Dragonwilds at all?
Oh, that's it. I've seen people play it. I've been watching some streams of people playing it. I haven't touched it myself. I'm definitely a scaper, quote unquote, rather than a gamer. So when I game, I'm logging into RuneScape.
Yeah, definitely.
What about you?
I dug some time into it for sure. There are definitely some things I like about it. I made a video on it, but like a lot of the videos right now are like new RuneScape game, and they're very focused on like just the game as a survival game. There's a lot of people who aren't RuneScape players playing it right now. So my video wasn't like a review of the game, but it was strictly like how much does this feel like RuneScape? Like, is this actually a RuneScape game or not? Right? Because that to me was, from my perspective, important. It might not be important to everybody else, but for us, I think that's important. And I think some things they did pretty well. I think like obviously the skill system, once they flesh it out, it's going to be cool. I think the best skill was rune crafting. Like, you actually collect rune essence, then you go to an altar and you collect runes. And I was like, oh wow, and then you use them to cast spells. So that combination of rune crafting plus spells was so cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, but this is where I was at odds. Are they trying to be a RuneScape game that's like a survival crafting game, or are they trying to be a survival crafting game with RuneScape on top? When you craft the runes, all you do is you create this altar, which is basically like a crafting table in your base, and you can create every single rune, right?
Oh.
So I wanted the altars to be located out in the world, right? Even if I create like a teleport there later to make it easy, I just like for flavor of RuneScape, I want it to be out there. But instead, they went with like the norm of this genre, which is like everything you craft in your base, right? So I was disappointed with that aspect. When it comes to drops, like everything is crafted, which is, again, this is normal for the genre, but like it's not RuneScape for me. So like there's an abyssal demon in the game, which by the way, is so cool. One of the best monsters. It teleports around and everything, right? It drops an abyssal spine, which then you combine it with a bunch of other resources to make an abyssal whip. The RuneScape player in me is just like, just give me the whip.
Yeah, yeah, I feel that. Damn.
Right. So they leaned into the survival crafting. I just wanted the whip, and this isn't the only case. I got like a unique weapon from another boss, and it gave me a recipe to craft that weapon. It's like, oh my god, just drop the weapon.
Yeah.
Right. I think the monsters, by and large, like the skins and whatnot on them, like they're just like. At first, I'm like, oh, it's a goblin. Oh, it's a cow. Oh, it's a kebet. But then I realized, wow, that's just like cows are everywhere. They exist in the real world. Like RuneScape didn't invent them, right? And like all the other things are like just generic creatures. Dude, I saw the cow and I was like, yo,
That's
holy
from
shit, it's a
RuneScape.
cow.
That's
I
from
can't believe they
RuneScape.
made these a real thing in the game, right? But once I got over that stupid discovery, I was like, wow, a lot of the monsters are really just name things like goblins and whatnot.
Yeah.
But then I ran into a Chinchompa and I was like, okay, whatever, it looks like. But it actually fused up and exploded. And I was like, okay.
They're like creepers almost.
Okay. And I was like, okay, there's potential here. If they can use like unique creatures from RuneScape, like Necreals that spawn bats, the Abyssal Demon that teleports around, they have potential here. And then the last bit is the weapons. There are some cool weapons, right? But most of them are like, again, just crafted, whatever. The one thing that I can't stand they did is I saw the word special attack beside my weapon. I was like, no way, special attack. And I went to go use it, and it is just like an alternate attack, right? And it uses the same stamina bar for regular attacks. So there's no reason to use it or not use it at all. I wish it had an actual spec bar, right? Where I had to choose to use it at the right time and it was powerful rather than just being like this alternate attack they called special attack. So this game overall is just a balance of like, what are they just adding on as like a skin stretched on top of this game? And what is actually RuneScape? And how much do they want to be a like survival crafting game with RuneScape on top versus like a RuneScape game based around survival crafting? Like it's that balance.
Yeah.
Right now I'd say it's not quite ready though. They need to flesh out the skills more. They need to lean more into the identity. Definitely.
But you've been enjoying yourself ultimately. It sounds like you're going to be making a video on it too.
I recently released one, I think like yesterday. So I did
okay.
make a video kind of covering all these thoughts. I'd say overall, like I did enjoy it, but it's really not that deep. There's like 10, 15 hours of content right now. And yeah, there are some like, I think for those first couple hours, you're going to enjoy it as like a RuneScape player. But after that, it's going to kind of not feel so good. Once they flesh out the skills, add more spells, which was like one of the pluses, and add more monsters, I think it's going to be a better game. Unique monsters, that is.
Yeah.
But I honestly, given Jagex's like track record of games they've tried to release, this is probably going to be one of the more successful ones. But it probably needs a good like year or so of development to feel a lot better. I think over the next couple of weeks, you're going to see the player base drop to like nothing because there just isn't enough.
I was impressed the fact that I'm pretty sure it's just like a $30 game or something like that, and there's no extra charges going on, no microtransactions. It sounded like.
Yeah,
that's impressive.
Yeah. It's pretty. It's. I love stuff like that, and they're going to make a ton of money from this past week, but you are only getting like 10 or 15 hours from that $30. So, do you value that or not? I think you'd be better off waiting a year and then spending $30 if you can wait, right? But there is a lot of hype around it right now.
Yeah, and you can play like co-op, so it's not like, I mean, you could play 10 to 15 hours solo and then have some fun with some friends or something if you wanted to like redo it or something.
Yeah. Oh, something I really liked about it, which isn't even what they developed, but I just thought it was funny. Leveling up your skills. I was finding as a RuneScape player like efficiencies to level it up, and I was like, man, people are gonna make videos on the best training methods, and it's gonna feel so RuneScape, which is just funny. Like being able to like chop multiple trees at once is gonna give you like more woodcutting XP, right? The funniest one was construction. There was one point in construction where I was placing down stools and then removing stools. And I was like, man, this is so RuneScape,
classic.
unintentionally RuneScape. And I had to talk about that because yeah, it was just so funny to see. But honestly, I'm surprised it came out this quickly. I'm sure it was definitely, I think, as a survival game, has a ton of potential. As a RuneScape game, it's currently okay, and they would need to lean into it more to make it more RuneScape.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Yeah, I might give it a go, but it would have to depend on just like other, I don't know, streamers or something wanted to like jump in with me and we just fuck around for a day or something. But yeah, definitely not my cup of tea. Just pretty much like any game's not my cup of tea except for RuneScape. I'm just so addicted.
Yeah, I think they have better luck actually catering outside of RuneScape than actual RuneScape players because we'll probably all just end up reverting back. But it is a one-time charge, right? So
Yeah.
they do make our money from us, right? For as like, ooh, yeah, let's check it out. But then we usually end up abandoning it because we'll end up playing this game. Its long-term player counts will be more dependent on probably people outside of RuneScape, but they'll definitely make a lot of money from us originally.
I mean, it's cool. Like it definitely doesn't even seem like Jagex. Like it doesn't seem like a Jagex made game, but I think I'm impressed with it, and it's RuneScape themed, which is just also kind of cool. And yeah, that's cool though. That it's just a one-time thing. It's a pretty short-lived game, but hopefully in the, like you said, the next year or something, we'll get new updates with it. So.
Yep.
Okay, well, Travag, I have genuinely enjoyed this conversation. We've been chatting for a while. This has been great, and you're a professional rambler, as I was saying. So we definitely hit like all points. It sounds like, and I'm sure I could get you on, in a year from now or so, and we could talk about what else has come into the game. We could have another really cool conversation, seeing like how the game's kind of evolved and what all the changes they made just over the past year. So that'd be cool if you'd be interested, when I reach out again. But I'm going to have your links down in the description of the video. So everybody go drop him a follow for me on his YouTube. He's got great, if you like discussion based videos, he has nailed that art. I think his videos genuinely are like really articulate, and they really hit the hammer on the head. And like, if you don't like it when I start rambling on about random stuff, this guy really keeps it pretty concise, and I think his points are like very clear, and he's just got great takes. So as we saw in this conversation. So Travag, I'm going to have everything that you want linked down below after this call. I'm going to have it all down there. So for those listening, go click on it. Also, if you guys want to support the cast, there is a Patreon, a YouTube membership, and a Spotify sub link down in the description to access exclusive episodes and just to support if you guys want to. So Travag, I'm going to ask, is there any last final thoughts you want to have added?
Well, thank you for having me. I think I've been watching you a long time. It seems like the past couple of months for YouTube have been particularly fun to talk about, and a lot of people are interested in the videos that we're both making. So it's a good time for the game. We got some awesome endgame updates coming. So I hope the players below are excited after this conversation. And it was honestly a great conversation. Thanks.